Chapter 1 Hinata's Fake Accident. Drop, Uzumaki Bloodline. First, a disclaimer. Due to the differing settings in the early and later parts of the original work, many plot points often contradict each other, and some settings are similar, even leading to conspiracy theories. This book leans towards no conspiracy theories, and some plot points will be given plausible explanations. Everyone reads for enjoyment, so I won't stir up any debates. The timeline serves the plot. Just follow mine. Konoha year 55. Winter. White snowflakes fell from the sky. Mariki Lin, Shung, looked up at the sky, casually putting a peeled mandarin into his mouth. Sigh, I'm already 4 years old, yet even refining chakra is so difficult. It seems I'm destined to live a mediocre life. As he sighed inwardly, 2 words gradually appeared in Rinso's eyes: resignation. As a transmigrator, he knew perfectly well that in this world where cheats were rampant and talented monsters were as common as dogs, an ordinary person like him, with no talent, let alone dreaming of becoming a beloved hero, will be lucky just to live peacefully and not be caught in some AoE ninjutsu. Recalling the feeling of powerlessness 4 years ago, when he was just born, facing the 9-tailed fox rampaging through the entire Konoha village, Rinso sighed. Indeed, it's better to be a slacker. Putting another tangerine segment into his mouth, Rinso couldn't help but smile. This year's mandarins taste good, juicy, and sweet. With a calm mind, Rinso walked home, his soles stepping on the not-so-thin snow, creating evenly deep indentations. Whoa! A girl's sobbing sound reached him. Rinso's excellent eyesight, typical of a child, immediately allowed him to see a small figure kneeling in the snow in the distance, with no adults nearby, crying softly in distress. Crystalline tears dripped from the girl's face, and her eyes, the same color as the white snow, revealed a unique cuteness. Hyuga Hinata? Rinso instantly recognized the girl, thinking to himself how coincidental it was. At the same time, he turned his ankles slightly, walking a bit to the side, past Hyuga Hinata. He wasn't like Naruto, that natural airhead. He clearly knew that a branch family ninja was definitely guarding Hyuga Hinata in secret, so nothing would happen to her. If he, an ordinary person, suddenly went to join the commotion, it would not only be a waste of time, but also might lead to him being suspected of approaching Hyuga Hinata with ulterior motives. Thinking this, Rinso was about to walk past Hyuga Hinata. Seeing Rinso walk by, Hyuga Hinata remembered her father's constant emphasis on the main family's dignity. She sniffled, forced back her tears, and stood up, not wanting to bring shame to her clan. Just as Hinata stood up, she took a step and again stepped on a stone hidden under the snow. Losing her balance, she fell sideways. Plop! The coldness touched Rinso's skin through his clothes. Sigh. Rinso sighed, helped Hinata up, and then stood up himself, dusting off the snow from his bottom. He now seriously suspected Hyuga Hinata of faking a fall, but he had no evidence. Thank you. Hyuga Hinata's voice was soft, and her large Byakugan blinked, making it hard to speak harshly to her. After thanking him, Hyuga Hinata didn't leave on her own. Instead, she stared blankly at Rinso. Her eyes, though only white, conveyed the meaning of "you are a good person." Rinso, feeling inexplicably that he had been taken advantage of, decided to be a good person for once. So, he forced a shallow smile and said, "Where do you live? I'll take you home." A faint blush appeared on Hyuga Hinata's cheeks. She lowered her head and timidly pointed in a direction. Rinso glanced at it, then directly took Hyuga Hinata's hand and started walking, pulling her along. Hyuga Hinata was led away by Rinso. The warmth from his palm made her involuntarily grip his hand tighter. Not far away, the yellow-haired Uzumaki Naruto silently retracted his legs, which were about to step forward. If no one helped Hyuga Hinata, he would eagerly assist. But now, perhaps not. Otherwise, he would be called a demon fox again. Hey, what are you looking at over there? Looking like you want to help but not coming over. Rinso's voice was neither loud nor soft, just enough for Uzumaki Naruto to hear. Uzumaki Naruto slowly approached, pointing at himself with some disbelief. Me? Rinso looked helpless. Who else? Uzumaki Naruto's expression quickly turned to surprise, and he eagerly came closer. Is there anything you need me to do? Rinso, who had originally just called Uzumaki Naruto over because he looked pitiful, now didn't know what to ask him to do, so he just came up with a random reason. I have mandarins in my pocket. I need to help her. So, can you peel the mandarins for me? Okay. Even though it was a perfunctory task, Uzumaki Naruto's face was still filled with the joy of being accepted. He happily started peeling the mandarins. Hyuga Hinata glanced at Uzumaki Naruto, silently labeling him a strange fellow, then looked back at Rinso, also giving him a label. Handsome, kind person. Suddenly, Rinso's body froze in place, his pupils contracting, because before his eyes, a Jean Blue panel suddenly appeared. Host detected contact with the child of the world. Uzumaki Naruto. System has awakened. System? After 4 years of transmigration, he also had a system. Uncontrollable ecstasy spread through his heart, causing Rinso's lips to curl into a smile unconsciously. System, what are your functions? Rinso asked in his mind. When a host comes into contact with others, there's a chance for them to drop things like bloodlines, abilities, ninjutsu, etc. After dropping, the host can pick them up and fuse them. Such a powerful function. A hint of pleasant surprise flashed in Rinso's eyes. Are you okay? Hyuga Hinata's slightly worried voice sounded. Rinso immediately came back to his senses, looked over, and saw Hinata's worried expression. Rinso understood that he might have suddenly frozen in place, making Hinata think something was wrong with him. I'm fine. I just suddenly remembered something. He casually brushed her off, then immediately wanted to send Hinata back quickly so he could properly study the system. Here, Uzumaki Naruto suddenly handed over a peel mandarin, smiling. It's peeled, eat it. Rinso didn't take it. He glanced at Naruto's subconscious swallowing, then feigned disgust. Did you wash your hands? Eat it yourself. Uzumaki Naruto wasn't saddened by being disliked at all. His eyes were full of surprise. That's great. You're such a good person. Saying that, he ravenously shoved the fist-sized mandarin into his mouth all at once, looking like a squirrel hoarding food in its cheeks. A hint of pity flashed in Rinso's eyes. He then remembered the system's prompt and said aloud, You seem pretty obedient. Want to be my little brother? I'll make sure you have plenty of fruit. Rinso's invitation exploded like a bomb in Uzumaki Naruto's heart. He instinctively turned his head, searching for other people, to confirm if Rinso's words were directed at him. Only when their eyes met Rinso's inviting gaze did he ask in disbelief, You want me to be your friend? Do you know who I am? Rinso looked completely nonchalant. Everyone says you're a demon fox, I know, but I don't believe it. You just need to answer if you're willing or not. And it's little brother. As for friend, that depends on your performance. Confirming that Rinso knew who he was, yet was still willing to accept him, Uzumaki Naruto completely ignored the latter half of Rinso's sentence. Tears flowed uncontrollably, and then he nodded heavily. I agree. Uzumaki Naruto dropped. Uzumaki Bloodline. Pick up. Yes/no. Chapter 2. Merging the Uzumaki Bloodline. A wise choice for Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto dropped. Uzumaki Bloodline. Pick up. A message suddenly popped up on the panel. After seeing it clearly, Rinso's eyes immediately lit up. The drop rate is this high, and the first drop is such an SSR-level grand prize as the Uzumaki Bloodline. Numerous thoughts instantly flashed through Rinso's mind, but he immediately chanted inwardly, Pick up. Then Rinso noticed a red flash under Uzumaki Naruto's feet, flying into his body. So, when it says dropped, it literally means dropped at his feet, right? Pickup successful. Uzumaki Bloodline has been stored in the system's inventory. Mentally say inventory to open it. Rinso decided to thoroughly research the system after returning home, but for now, he needed to take Hyuga Hinata home first. Before taking Hinata back, Rinso planned to deal with Naruto first. So he said to Naruto, Tomorrow, find me at the Mariki fruit store in the village's central shopping street. Today, you should hurry home and rest. Got it, Naruto excitedly shouted. I'm going home right now. With that, he skipped away, his happiness evident from his retreating figure. A smile touched Rinso's lips, and he was in a very good mood. Let's go. I'll take you home, Rinso said to Hyuga Hinata. Hyuga Hinata nodded like a small bird, as well-behaved as a doll. She also looked like one. Under the dim streetlights, Rinso walked with Hyuga Hinata for a long while, leaving pairs of footprints in the snow. It wasn't until the wind and snow had placed a cap of snow on both of them that they finally arrived outside the mansion, with a Hyuga plaque hanging above its gate. Rinso said, We're here. After safely taking Hinata home, Rinso looked expectantly at Hinata's feet, but found no trace of seed, nor did the system pop up any messages. After confirming there were no dropped seeds, Rinso, slightly disappointed, let go of Hinata's hand and said with a hint of sadness, I'm leaving. Hyuga Hinata's hand hovered in the air, then she withdrew it, looking a little lost. Having experienced little affection since childhood, she naturally felt a pang of reluctance after feeling it from Rinso. Thump! A ninja dressed in Hyuga clan attire suddenly appeared, blocking Rinso's path, his expression cold. Kid, don't leave. Answer a few questions for me. Rinso was speechless inwardly. Naruto in the original work did this too, so why wasn't he interrogated? Though he grumbled inwardly, Rinso understood that he was not like Naruto, who was the fourth Hokage's orphan. Approaching Hyuga Hinata, the clan head's daughter, would inevitably lead to suspicion of ill intent, even if Hinata had actively bumped into him. Thinking of this, Rinso looked up at the Hyuga branch family ninja, blocking his way, and said, Speak. The branch family ninja slightly raised his eyebrows, surprised by Rinso's calmness, but still asked with a cold attitude, "What are your parents' names? What is your name? What do you do? Why were you walking there today?" Facing the interrogation, Rinso calmly replied, "My father is Mariki Geniki, my mother is Mariki Hanako, and my name is Mariki Lin Sheng. My family runs a fruit store called Mariki Fruit Store. I was just taking a walk. I often take that path." After honestly answering, Rinso looked up. "Are you done?" The branch family ninja spoke with a cold face. A commoner? It was a common term, but in the branch family ninja's tone, Rinso heard a hint of disdain. Yes, Rinso frowned almost imperceptibly. He hadn't expected someone to be so foolish, acting superior just because of their family status. Stay away from the young lady in the future. Don't try to approach her, or you'll regret it, the branch family ninja said condescendingly, his eyes unconsciously revealing a hint of contempt. Don't think about clinging to the young lady. Go back to selling your fruits honestly. Rinso said nothing, scrutinizing the branch family ninja, memorizing his face, then turned and left without looking back. No, Hyuga Hinata shook her head, looking at the much taller branch family ninja, and for once, bravely spoke up to express her dissatisfaction. The branch family ninja was slightly surprised, then said dismissively, "Young lady, you should interact less with people like him in the future." He completely disregarded Hyuga Hinata's feelings. After all, even if he made Hyuga Hinata unhappy, she wouldn't have the courage to tell her clan head father. He didn't know, however, that today's incident would be an exception, leading to his deep regret. Mariki Lin Sheng's home was located on the outskirts of Konoha Village, a two-story courtyard house, next to which was their family's own orchard, growing various fruits for self-production and self-sale. When Rinso returned home, his parents had already gone to bed, leaving dinner for him on the dining table. Without eating dinner, Rinso went straight to his room. System, open inventory. Rinso was a little impatient. After being looked down upon by that branch family ninja, it would be a lie to say he had no emotions. But he was not like Naruto. Although an orphan, he actually had many invisible backgrounds. Forget a Hyuga clan branch family ninja. Even a random genin was someone he couldn't afford to provoke. So now, he could only do one thing as much as possible: increase his value. And for him, the biggest way to increase his value was to increase his strength. And to increase his strength, he needed to have talent. Therefore, his most urgent task now was to fuse the Uzumaki Bloodline that dropped for Naruto. In front of Rinso, the blue system panel flashed, switching to the inventory interface. It was a function similar to an online game's inventory system, with grids separating items. However, Rinso currently only had the item named Uzumaki Bloodline quietly sitting in the first slot of his inventory. System, fuse Uzumaki Bloodline. Rinso commanded. As his words fell, in the inventory interface, the Uzumaki Bloodline in the first slot immediately disappeared. What followed was his body suddenly becoming incredibly hot. It was as if he was in a steaming basket, and large beads of sweat began to slide down from Rinso's forehead. Ugh! Rinso let out a painful groan. He understood that his body was being transformed by the Uzumaki Bloodline, and his pain was merely something his body had to endure during the transformation. Time passed by second. A few minutes later, the bloodline transformation was completely finished. Rinso collapsed exhaustedly onto the floor. After a short rest, his body was once again filled with strength. Is this the powerful vitality and recovery speed brought by the Uzumaki Bloodline? Rinso sat up, shocked by this. He only now truly understood how overpowered those bloodlines described in the original work actually were. And this was even just one of the basic enhancements of the Uzumaki Bloodline. When he grew up, he might even awaken the unique abilities of the Uzumaki clan from the original work. It could be said that the moment he fused with the Uzumaki Bloodline, he at least gained the potential to become strong. Wait! Suddenly remembering something, Rinso abruptly stood up and ran to the bathroom in his house. Turning on the light, Rinso's entire reflection appeared in the mirror. His hair color was still pure black. Good. My hair color didn't turn red. Rinso breathed a sigh of relief. Otherwise, he really wouldn't know how to explain it to his parents. Was he supposed to say he was bored and secretly dyed his hair? It seems Naruto's Uzumaki Bloodline isn't very good at dyeing hair. Rinso chuckled, his mood completely relaxed. At the same time, he felt even more wise about his choice to take Naruto as his subordinate. Although this might make him noticed by the third Hokage, there would be no loss in it. On the contrary, by keeping Naruto by his side, let alone the Uzumaki Bloodline, he might even acquire the Sage Body, Sage Art Talent, or even Azura Chakra. Chapter 3. The Gathering of Inoshikicho, Group Leader Hayashi, and the Bullied Hinata. The next day, Konoha Commercial Street, Forest Fruit Store. Rinso, Why are you always distracted? The girl pouted, asking with some dissatisfaction. Rinso withdrew his gaze from the store entrance and looked helplessly at the girl standing in front of him. The girl was about his height, wearing a festive red cotton jacket, her hair tied into two buns, which perfectly matched her rosy, energetic cheeks. Tintin, I'm waiting for someone, my new little brother from yesterday, Rinso explained. Yes, Tintin, one of the future 12 genin, a hidden rich girl whose family owned a ninja tool shop. Because their parents both ran shops on the same commercial street, the two would occasionally meet, and being of similar age, they gradually became close friends. Huh, it's not another girl, is it? Tintin still pouted, looking unhappy. Rinso gave an awkward laugh and said, Not this time. A little brother, of course, has to be a boy. Tintin's pout finally receded, and she nodded with a satisfied expression. That's right. You're a boy. How can you only have girlfriends? One girlfriend, me, is enough. As for Ino and Sakura, Rinso should stay away from them. Ino Yamanaka. Sakura Haruno. Both are popular and frequently appearing characters in the original work. Rinso could swear he never thought of actively approaching them, but Ino's family flower shop also happened to be on this commercial street, making it hard not to know her. And like pulling up a radish and bringing out mud, once he knew Ino, he naturally got to know Sakura. Fox Demon. Get lost. Why is that Fox Demon still out? It's disgusting. Fox Demon, go die. I don't understand why you're still alive. Noisy insults entered his ears, and Rinso frowned slightly, looking out of the store. He saw Naruto standing in the middle of the road, a dozen meters from the store entrance, carefully smiling at him. Naruto didn't dare to go directly to Rinso, fearing that he would cause Rinso's fruit store business to suffer. Just like Ichiraka Ramen, he knew Tucci was willing to accept him, so he rarely went, only occasionally when it was late and no one was around. Is that him? Tintin's expression was surprised, but she didn't show much repulsion. Her family held some weight in Konoha, so she knew a little about Naruto's situation. Although they didn't tell her to approach Naruto, they also told her not to bully him. Yes, Rinso didn't deny it, leading Tintin out of the fruit store. That way, Rinso mouthed, pointing in a direction. Naruto immediately nodded and left his spot. The villagers thought Naruto had been cursed away by them, showing expressions of triumph or relief. Next to the Mariki family's orchard was a small stream, a nice, secluded spot that, over time, became Rinso's secret base. However, when Rinso brought Naruto and Tintin there, several people were already present. Rinso, Ino Yamanaka, with her blonde hair, saw Rinso from afar and immediately waved to greet him. She wasn't very old yet, not having the unique side-swept bangs that covered her face later on. Her hair was simply combed to both sides, just past her chin, giving her a sunny and cute appearance. Beside her, Sakura Haruno, who would later have a more outgoing personality, was wearing a red hairband, looking like a delicate little girl. This is Nara Shikamaru, and this is Akimichi Choji. They're also my friends. I'm introducing them to you today. Ino excitedly introduced the two people beside her. Mariki Lin, Shung, subconsciously glanced at the two. Although still young, Shikamaru's laziness was already evident. His eyelids looked as if they couldn't fully open, and his whole demeanor was listless. As for Choji, he had the standard Akimichi clan physique, with a large appetite even at a young age. Did I take the liberty of bringing them to the secret base, and now you're angry? Seeing Rinso not respond, Ino immediately asked with some apprehension. Nothing of the sort. I was just wondering if, with more people, it would be accepted, Rinso said, directly pulling Naruto, who was behind him, forward. This is... Nara Shikamaru's casual gaze sharpened. As the son of the Nara clan head and being intelligent from a young age, he was the only one among them who knew Naruto's true identity. The fourth Hokage's orphan, such a sensitive identity, and his trouble-averse personality meant he wouldn't actively seek contact. But now, he was encountering him because of Rinso. This is truly unexpected, Shikamaru thought to himself. Is this that fox demon? Sakura examined Naruto, openly speaking the fox demon's name. Naruto instinctively recoiled defensively, but when he looked up and saw that Sakura Haruno's eyes held no disgust, only a normal appraisal, he relaxed. Looking at the others, not a single person gave him a Byakugan glare. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto loudly introduced himself, his voice a bit excited. I know. You're so loud, Sakura said with a slight hint of disdain. Naruto scratched his head, not caring, and laughed. I know. Where are we going to play today? Ino ignored Naruto and looked at Rinso expectantly. The mature mindset he developed from his past life memories made Rinso the leader of their small group. Where to play? It's a rare snowy day. How about we go to the park to build snowmen and snow shelters? Rinso suggested. Snowmen and snow shelters? Great! Ino readily agreed. I can go home and get shovels and other tools. Tintin was very supportive. I'll definitely build the biggest snowman. Sakura Haruno was very excited. I can help you, Naruto said shyly, looking at Sakura Haruno. Really? I hope you're not clumsy. Sakura Haruno didn't refuse. Beside them, Akimichi Choji was unenthusiastic. I'd rather go to a restaurant to eat. Rinso laughed. After we play, we can have a party in the snow shelter we build. Choji's eyes immediately lit up. Really? No need to lie to you. Rinso smiled, then looked at Shikomaru. If you all agree, I have no objection. Shikomaru yawned, but his gaze towards Rinso was very approving. Someone who could arrange activities so well was truly reassuring and perfectly suited his preferences. Shikamaru silently thought that in the future, when they went out to play, he should just come to Rinso. It saved him the trouble. This way, he wouldn't be urged by his dad to go out and play, nor would he have to bother finding things to do himself. Rinso didn't know Shikamaru's thoughts. Seeing everyone agree, he said, then let's go. On snowy days, apart from playful children, few adults were willing to stroll outside. On the path to the village park, Rinso and the others encountered few people. It wasn't until they neared the park that they heard some commotion. Are you a Hyuga clan daughter? What scary eyes, don't look at us. What ugly eyes like a monster's. Be a Kugan monster. Rinso looked from afar. In the park, 3 boys about 7 or 8 years old surrounded Hyuga Hinata, freely spewing malice. Chapter 4 Hero saves the beauty, drop, shadow, clone technique. Bang! The tightly packed snowball, as hard as a stone, was thrown by Rinso and accurately hit the boy in the middle of the 3. Ah! The boy in the middle screamed, and immediately looked back with his 2 companions. Then they instantly spotted Rinso, who hadn't yet lowered his throwing posture. The boy who was hit immediately became furious. You little brat, are you looking for death? Are you going to meddle in our business? Said the slightly fatter boy among the 3. Exactly, I think you're asking for a beating, chimed in the shorter boy among the 3. Rinso looked at the 3 of them, completely unfazed. If your strength was half as good as your mouth's, you'd at least be swinging your fist by now. Feeling Rinso's undisguised disdain, the 3 became even more enraged. Damn it, the leader of the boys cursed. Let's all go beat him up. Charge. The 3 swarmed forward, wildly flailing their fists in an uncoordinated attack on Rinso. If Rinso were an ordinary child, even if he were their age, he would have a hard time fighting 3. But unfortunately, he had just fused with the Uzumaki Bloodline last night. The boost provided by the Uzumaki Bloodline in its early stages is among the top in the entire ninja world. This is because the Uzumaki Bloodline primarily enhances basic physical strength in its initial phase. This increased physical strength was enough for Rinso to easily take on 3. 3 fists flew directly towards Rinso's face. Rinso easily dodged them with a casual duck of his head. Then he simultaneously threw punches with both hands, aiming at the waist of the 2 closest boys. Thud, thud. After 2 dull thuds, the 2 boys who were hit immediately knelt to the ground weakly, clutching their waists, their faces beet red. As for the last of the 3, Rinso immediately followed up with a knee strike after retracting his fists. This knee strike didn't hit a vital spot like the waist, so it didn't cause the last boy to collapse in pain, but he did vomit a mouthful of stomach acid, his expression one of agony. How can this be? The boy who was kneed said in disbelief. After knocking them all down, Rinso stood over them, looking down coldly at the 3. Get lost. His cold voice exploded in the ears of the 3. Immediately, tears streamed down their faces, and snot ran uncontrollably from their noses. The only boy still able to move, ignoring his companions, ran off without looking back, crying out as he ran, Mommy and Daddy! Mommy and Daddy! The remaining 2, left behind, gritted their teeth, propped themselves up with their arms, and awkwardly rolled away, clearing the snow on the ground as they went, bullying the weak and fearing the strong. After delivering his final assessment, Rinso stopped paying attention to the 3 and turned to look at Hinata, who was squatting nearby. At this moment, Hinata seemed to be startled by his performance. Her small mouth was slightly agape, and tears, frozen by the cold, clung to her cheeks. So amazing, Hinata murmured to herself, her eyes filled with admiration and surprise. Are you okay? Rinso maintained a certain distance before offering a polite inquiry. No, I'm fine. Hinata stood up, wiped away her tears, and shook her head. Good to hear. I'll be going now. Rinso didn't ask further and headed straight for the park. Hinata watched Rinso's retreating back, slightly pursing her lips. After a moment of hesitation, she decided to follow him. Wow, Rinso, you're amazing. You took care of those 3 big kids in just a few moves. You're even better than me. Uzumaki Naruto was astonished from start to finish, even unable to resist punching the air a few times, clearly having put himself in Rinso's shoes and feeling quite excited. Rinso smiled. not wanting to deflate Naruto's confidence. After all, Naruto also possessed the Uzumaki bloodline. It was just that he wasn't good at fighting, otherwise, Naruto could have handled those three as well. He is indeed very strong, Shikamaru said with a serious expression, looking at Rinso with renewed respect. They had initially thought Rinso was just an ordinary child with a mature personality and his own opinions. But now, seeing Rinso, at such a young age, take on three older children, he undoubtedly possessed exceptional taijutsu talent. If he received good training and didn't die young, he might become a pillar of the village in the future. Someone like this will be able to keep up in the future and be a true friend, Shikamaru thought. Aside from Shikamaru, Ino and Tenten didn't think as deeply. They were completely captivated by Rinso's impressive display. Ino Yamanaka clasped her hands together, her eyes full of admiration. So handsome. Tenten swallowed, murmuring to herself. So amazing. So much security. He's practically the best candidate for a future husband. Sakura Haruno was also impressed by Rinso, but she wasn't particularly taken with his looks, so she just felt he was powerful. I didn't realize you were so strong, Rinso. Naruto immediately interrupted upon hearing this. I'm strong too. I know ninjutsu right now. Ninjutsu. Everyone looked at Naruto in unison. They were all 4 years old, with the oldest, Tenten, being only 5. At this age, many couldn't even refine chakra, so being able to use a ninjutsu was definitely a remarkable feat. Even the mature Shikamaru, after learning his clan's secret techniques, felt a certain pride. But Naruto, boisterous and a bit clumsy, didn't seem like someone who would know ninjutsu at all. Hey, don't you guys believe me? Naruto pouted unhappily. Everyone responded to Naruto with a unanimous look. Well, what else? Provoked by this, Naruto immediately became determined. Although he had only recently learned this ninjutsu and sometimes couldn't use it, he still chose to demonstrate it. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto slowly formed hand signs, and chakra flowed within his body. After a puff of smoke, a miniature Naruto, only a few centimeters tall, appeared before everyone. It worked! Naruto exclaimed excitedly. So cute. Sakura bent down, looking at the miniature Naruto, her heart melting. The others also looked at the small Naruto with curious or surprised expressions. They hadn't expected Naruto to actually know ninjutsu, even if this ninjutsu seemed very strange. He, Naruto, getting attention, chuckled foolishly. Among them, only Rinso didn't pay attention to the small Naruto. It wasn't that he wasn't curious. It was just that Naruto was too impressive. Uzumaki Naruto dropped. Shadow, Clone Jutsu. Pick up? Yes/no. Shadow Clone Jutsu. This ninjutsu, a staple for almost all Hokage novel protagonists, not only allows for the creation of a combat-capable physical clone, but this clone can also assist the main body in training, making it incredibly versatile. Rinso didn't know when Naruto had learned it, nor did he know where Naruto got the training method for the Shadow Clone Jutsu. But none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered to him was that now, thanks to Naruto, he could also learn this ninjutsu. System Pick Up. Chapter 5. The Shadow Clone Technique and Hiruzen Sarutobi's Spying. Successfully picked up. Shadow Clone Jutsu has been stored in the system backpack. Open backpack, Rinso immediately thought. He planned to fuse it now, as Shadow Clone Jutsu was not like the Uzumaki bloodline. It shouldn't have any strange reactions. However, adhering to a cautious approach, Rinso still asked, System, fusing the Shadow Clone Jutsu shouldn't give me any strange reactions, right? Yes, host. Having received a satisfactory answer, Rinso immediately thought, Begin fusion. In an instant, the Shadow Clone Jutsu in the backpack slot disappeared. In Rinso's mind, various details about the Shadow Clone Jutsu began to emerge, and his body even developed some instinctive reactions. It was as if he had practiced this ninjutsu dozens or hundreds of times. With just a slight guidance, chakra could naturally circulate, allowing him to use the Shadow Clone Jutsu. How many times did Naruto practice in private? Rinso was somewhat surprised. His Shadow Clone Jutsu was entirely derived from Naruto. If his Shadow Clone Jutsu could become proficient to this extent in an instant, Naruto would certainly be no less skilled than him. So, was it because the nine-tailed chakra was constantly interfering? Rinso had a sudden realization, understanding why Naruto's Shadow Clone Jutsu, despite having such a high level of proficiency, was always performed so strangely. Or rather, with the interference of the nine-tailed chakra, the proficiency required for Naruto to perform a ninjutsu was naturally higher than for others. That Naruto could now summon a small shadow clone was actually quite impressive. Thinking this, Rinso cast a look of approval at Naruto. Naruto's strong perception made him notice Rinso's gaze immediately, making him even happier. Among everyone present, Rinso was undoubtedly somewhat special to him. Receiving Rinso's approval made him happier than receiving approval from others. Can I play with you guys? Hinata mustered her courage and spoke nervously. Rinso turned and saw Hinata standing at the park entrance. She didn't leave, she followed. With this thought, Rinso slowly walked towards Hinata. Hinata's body trembled, the tension in her heart making her timidly afraid to look up at Rinso. What do you want? Can you say it again? Rinso said softly. Hearing this, Hinata's chest heaved, and she made a big decision in her heart before finally speaking again. I want to play with you guys. Rinso heard clearly this time and turned to ask the others behind him. Hinata wants to play with everyone. What do you think? We have no problem. Tintin, in a big sister manner, represented everyone in agreeing. The others also had no objections. Tintin was the oldest, and everyone didn't dislike Hinata, so her words were fine. Hinata's eyes lit up with joy. However, Rinso had some reservations. Hinata, your family. Rinso didn't finish his sentence, but Hinata knew that Rinso was referring to the incident yesterday when Rinso interacted with her and was subsequently reprimanded. As soon as she thought of this, Hinata couldn't help but feel guilty, lowering her head and apologizing. I'm sorry. I told Father afterwards, and Father punished him and replaced him. Now my family doesn't restrict me from making friends with others. Rinso's expression was surprised. Hinata, you actually dare to complain to your father? Rinso remembered that the Hinata in the original work was very afraid of her father, Hayashi, and rarely dared to express her demands. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been bullied so many times in the original work. It was clear that Hinata endured it and didn't tell her family. Because he bullied you. Hinata poked her fingers, lowering her head somewhat shyly. Rinso opened his mouth, unsure what to say. He and Hinata had known each other for less than a day, so why did it seem like he was very important to Hinata? Anyway, you can play freely now, right? Rinso confirmed. Hinata nodded up and down, looking expectantly at Rinso. Then come on. Rinso no longer had reservations. Presumably, the new guard wouldn't presume to make decisions for Hinata on his own. At this moment, if Hinata's guard, hiding in the shadows, knew Rinso's thoughts, he would surely say, presume to make decisions? Forget presuming to make decisions. I wouldn't even dare to restrict her. Recalling what happened last night, he couldn't help but show a look of lingering fear. Last night, Hinata, for the first time, complained to her father, Hayashi. And the result, naturally, was that the branch family ninja received punishment. First, the cushy job of guarding Hinata was gone, and he would have to go on dangerous missions like escorting cargo or assassinations. Secondly, even the resources he could receive monthly within the clan were directly cut in half. Finally, even the continuation of gentle fist techniques learning was terminated, making it highly likely he would never learn the subsequent gentle fist moves in his lifetime. When this punishment was announced, everyone in the Hyuga clan was shocked. They hadn't expected Hyuga Hayashi to issue such a severe punishment just because of Hinata's complaint. Afterwards, they all came to their senses, realizing that Hyuga Hayashi was sending a signal. No matter how out of favor Hinata was, she was still the young lady of the Hyuga main family. Branch family ninja, absolutely, could not overstep their bounds. This matter is not over yet. The protagonist hasn't settled the score. Hokage-sama, this is Mariki Lin Shung's information and his parents' information. An umbu wearing a fox mask respectfully presented a document. Hiruzen Tsurutobi, puffing on his pipe, narrowed his eyes slightly. Mariki Lin Shung. His family are just ordinary people who run a fruit shop, yet he possesses such taijutsu talent. And is it intentional or a coincidence? Yamanaka, Nara, Akimichi, the daughter of the village's largest ninja, tool shop owner, Naruto, and also Hyuga. This kid actually gathered all the heirs of several major clans in the village. After muttering to himself for a while, Hiruzen Tsurutobi suddenly looked at the umbu in front of him. Sure Sui, do you think he did it intentionally or unintentionally? Unintentionally. Uchiha Sure Sui was startled, then immediately replied. Hiruzen Tsurutobi became interested. Why? Because all those people actively approached him. Even Naruto, it was due to coincidence. He does often walk on that road, but Naruto just happened to wander onto it. Sure Sui's tone was certain. How are you so sure? Hiruzen Tsurutobi's tone carried a hint of curiosity. Sure Sui was silent for a moment, then said, his family's fruit is very delicious. Ha, is that so? Then buy some for me to taste. Go. Hiruzen Tsurutobi smiled, signaling Sure Sui to leave. He understood that Sure Sui's subtext was that he had interacted with Rinso a long time ago, which is why he was so certain. Sure Sui nodded slightly, casually performing the body flicker technique and disappearing instantly. After Sure Sui left, Hiruzen Tsurutobi looked at the crystal ball on the table. The image transmitted showed Rinso directing everyone to build a snow house, clearly being their leader. He has great charisma and leadership. Could he be the next Minato? Hiruzen Tsurutobi put down the document, his eyes showing a hint of anticipation. Chapter 6. Sasuke, who was to be dueled, was easily defeated by Lin Sheng. The next day, in the park, the snow had melted. Got you. It's your turn to be the Oni. Ino, with her eyes covered by a cloth, excitedly grabbed the person in front of her. Ino took off her blindfold, wanting to see who was so unlucky to be caught by her. As soon as she took it off, she saw a familiar bun hairstyle. Haha, it's Tintin. Tintin said helplessly. Seriously, there are so many people. How did you just happen to catch me? Even though she said that, Tintin had no intention of backing out. She took the blindfold and was about to become the Oni and start catching people. The game, called Oni Catching, involves one person being the Oni with their eyes covered, while the others move quietly, try not to be caught. The one who is caught becomes the new Oni and starts catching people. This game, brought by Rinso from his previous life, was just as popular in the Hokage world. In the park, besides Rinso and his group, other children really wanted to join in and play, including a certain Tsundere Uchiha child. Sasuke, you really want to join in and play, don't you? Itachi asked gently. Uchiha Sasuke, sitting on Uchiha Itachi's neck, Tsunderely turned his head away. Not that much. Uchiha Itachi smiled, knowing how Tsundere his little brother was. If he didn't completely deny what he said, it meant he really wanted to join in and play. So, he bent down, lowering his head to put Sasuke down. Uchiha Itachi chuckled, pointing to Rinso and the others playing in the park. Go on, tell them you want to play. I don't really want to go, but since Big Brother insists, I'll reluctantly go. Uchiha Sasuke still denied it verbally, but his legs were already following his heart's desire, quickly running into the park. Hey, I want to play with you guys. Sasuke shouted awkwardly. Rinso and the others immediately looked over to see who was speaking. And Uchiha, Shikamaru said. The others also realized Sasuke's Uchiha identity and instinctively felt a bit more resistant. The military police forces Uchiha? They all seemed so fierce. Naruto blurted out, completely unaware of Sasuke's expression upon hearing that. I'm not fierce at all. Sasuke retorted loudly. Naruto covered his ears. If you're not fierce, then you're not fierce. Why are you yelling? Sasuke ignored Naruto and looked at Rinso, who was clearly the leader of the group. Rinso looked up at the park entrance. Uchiha Itachi stood there, and seeing Rinso look over, he smiled kindly. Rinso nodded, then asked Ino and the others, should we let him join? Oh, I don't care. Ino had no strong feelings about Sasuke. After all, she had someone else she cared about more. I have no problem either, Shikamaru said. As for Choji, he was busy eating snacks and completely ignored them. All right, let him join. Sakura Haruno stared intently at Sasuke, feeling that Sasuke completely fit her aesthetic. Although Rinso was also a handsome guy, even subtly surpassing Sasuke, Sasuke's aura was simply too captivating for her. What's so handsome about him? Naruto immediately felt hostility towards Sasuke, but remembering that he used to be an outcast himself, he didn't object. Great. I agree. Tintin was even more enthusiastic than Sakura. Here, the blindfold was handed to Sasuke by Tintin. Sasuke was a bit confused. What do you want me to do with this? Tintin smiled. The game we're playing is called Oni Catching. The Oni wearing the blindfold has to catch others, and this is the prop. Sasuke frowned. I understand how the game is played. I've been watching for a long time. Anyway, why do I have to be the Oni? Tintin looked puzzled. What do you mean? Why do you have to be the Oni? Because you just joined, of course you have to be the Oni. Just like Ino, because she came late, if she suddenly joins, she has to be the Oni. Sasuke understood the logic, but he didn't accept it, directly tossing the blindfold away. I'm not going to be the Oni. What's the big deal? If you don't want it, then don't. Why throw it away? You have such a bad temper. Tintin picked up the blindfold. The snow in the park had just melted, forming small puddles, and Sasuke had thrown the blindfold right into a puddle, getting it dirty. Anyway, I'm not going to be the Oni. Otherwise, let's have a duel. Whoever loses has to be the Oni. Sasuke knew he wasn't in the right and wanted to change his situation through force. Tintin also got angry and said unhappily, let's fight. Tintin. Seeing that Tintin and Sasuke were about to fight, Rinso quickly spoke up. What is it? Tintin looked at Rinso, pouting, her eyes clouded with a hint of mist, clearly feeling a little wronged. You. Rinso originally wanted to stop the duel, but seeing Tintin like this, he sighed helplessly. I can't do anything with you. Saying that, he looked at Sasuke. I'll fight you. Anyone can come. Sasuke was very confident. Rinso. Tintin showed a puzzled expression, not understanding why Rinso would fight on her behalf. His strength is not simple, Rinso replied simply. Others didn't know Sasuke's strength, but he understood it very well. Sasuke, who had been trained by Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Fugaku since childhood, although he didn't have Itachi's overwhelming strength among his peers. If it was just a one-on-one fight, he was definitely the best. Of course, that was before him. In the park, Sasuke and Rinso stood on opposite sides, surrounded by curious children and some adults. An Uchiha family child? Who was his opponent? Not sure. It seems to be an ordinary child named Mariki Lin Shang. Then it looks like the Uchiha child will win. Several passing Genin discussed, making their judgment in advance. This was the influence of the Uchiha name. Two equally unknown children, but the one named Uchiha was more convincing. Go big brother Rinso. Beat this arrogant guy. Naruto couldn't stand Sasuke and shouted his cheers the loudest. Go. Take him down. Ino also cheered for Rinso. Don't get hurt, Tintin said worriedly. Uchiha people are tough to fight, Shikamaru frowned. Sakura Haruno sighed. Why do they have to fight? I could just be the Oni if it's such a big deal. In the center of the park, Rinso looked at Sasuke opposite him and slowly spoke. You go first. Sasuke looked annoyed. What do you mean? Do you think I'm not as good as you? Rinso's expression was serious. I'm serious. You go first. Sasuke was even more annoyed. What a joke. I'm definitely stronger than you. You go first, and I'll still be the one to win. Rinso didn't try to persuade him further, but took a starting stance. Whoosh! Like an arrow released from a bow, Rinso pushed off the ground, instantly rushing towards Sasuke at an extremely fast speed. So fast, Sasuke's pupils constricted, and he immediately observed Rinso's movements, intending to block. Bang! Rinso's punch landed, blocked by Sasuke's elbow. It's nothing more than... Sasuke was about to gloat. Sasuke hadn't noticed Rinso's other hand. He was hit by Rinso's punch, immediately spat out a mouthful of saliva, and collapsed to the ground. I told you go first. If you had, it wouldn't have ended so quickly. Rinso looked down at Sasuke, speaking calmly. Chapter 7 Itachi Uchiha's Fall, Combat Talent, Hinata forbidden from going out. The park became somewhat quiet. This instant kill battle left many people unable to even process what happened. Or rather, in their imagination, even if an instant kill scene were to appear, it should have been the Uchiha child instantly killing Mariki Lin Shang. As it turned out, the child of the esteemed Uchiha clan couldn't even last 2 moves against a mere commoner child. Rinso Big Brother is amazing. Naruto excitedly jumped 2 meters high. Shikamaru also showed a shocked expression. Rinso's taijutsu is so strong. Shikamaru was certain he couldn't even block Rinso's first punch. Rinso Hinata crossed her hands over her chest, feeling her heart beat a little fast, and her face was a little warm. Beside her, Ino Yamanaka said nothing, staring at Rinso with shining eyes, unconsciously swallowing saliva. Perhaps it was the body warming up from playing, or perhaps today's sun was exceptionally warm. Ino touched her flushed cheeks. Why is it a little hot? As expected of Rinso, that's great. Tintin's eyes sparkled, thinking that she must reward Rinso well later. Coincidentally, her family had recently bought some seafood, and the abalone was the freshest. She would secretly give the abalone to Rinso to try. Center of the park. Rinso looked at Sasuke, who had been knocked down and was disheartened, slowly walked forward and extended his hand. You lost, so? You have to be the demon. Sasuke unconsciously showed a surprised expression. He lost, and he was still willing to let him play with him? This person named Mariki Lin Shang wasn't bad after all. No, how can I have such a shameful thought? Another voice immediately popped up in Sasuke's mind. Sasuke stood up and shouted, This duel was due to my carelessness. Next time I will definitely win. I will definitely not be the demon. Sasuke. Itachi's voice came, carrying a hint of seriousness, which instantly made Sasuke's body stiffen. Itachi looked at Rinso and bowed slightly. Sasuke is a bit willful. I will discipline him well. Saying that, his expression was not as gentle as usual. He sternly grabbed Sasuke's collar and carried Sasuke away. Rinso watched the two leave, not pursuing the matter, mainly because Uchiha Itachi was simply too generous. Uchiha Itachi dropped. Combat talent, pick up Y/N. He didn't say more than 2 sentences and just dropped an item. This was even more generous than Naruto. The most important thing was that the item Uchiha Itachi dropped, upon closer inspection, was in no way inferior to the Uzumaki Bloodline. What do ninja rely on in battle? The ninjutsu they master, detailed intelligence, and the talent for adapting in combat. The importance of the first 2 goes without saying. Master ninjutsu is like the foundation. It's essential. Detailed intelligence allows for better engagement with enemies. Just like Jiraiya, if he had intelligence on the 6 paths of pain, he might have been able to escape. And the final combat talent, seemingly the most inconspicuous, is actually a talent that all top ninja must possess. For example, Otsutsuki Kagaya, not skilled in combat, lacking combat talent. Even though she mastered many heaven-defying ninjutsu, her performance was inferior to Uchiha Madara, who mastered fewer abilities. Another example is Minato Namikaze. Apart from the Flying Thunder God technique and his heaven-defying reaction ability, a large part of what supported his strength was his combat talent. The battle during the Nine-Tails attack with the Beto is the most obvious example. Ninja with combat talent can often maximize their strength, even achieving victories over stronger opponents. Coincidentally, Itachi's combat talent is among the top 3 in the Hokage world, at a minimum. Fighting Nagato, fighting Sage Kabuto, fighting Orochimaru, regardless of whether his own raw strength was weaker than or on par with his opponent, Itachi always handled it with ease, achieving victories against the odds. And now he also possessed this combat talent. System pickup. Rinso silently chanted with some excitement. It was like an electric current passed through his body. Rinso shivered and was instantly fused. Recalling the battle just now, Rinso suddenly realized that he had made several mistakes. For example, he shouldn't have charged straight in. That would definitely have blocked his first punch. If Sasuke had reacted a little faster and slightly turned his body, his second punch would have missed and the battle would have had many more uncertainties. He should have used his physical advantage at the start of the battle to run circles around Sasuke, not giving Sasuke time to see, then revealing an opening and winning in one strike. Is this the top combat talent of the ninja world? I now, perhaps, possess the entry ticket to becoming a top-tier powerhouse, Rinso murmured softly. He left on his own, so let's continue playing, everyone, Rinso said to the group. Yes, let's continue playing. Since he left, who will be the demon? How about we decide with rock, paper, scissors? Tenten suggested. Ino immediately caught on to Ten's idea. Huh? Before he appeared, I already caught you, Tenten. So it should be you who's the demon. Tenten looked innocent. Really? I didn't remember that just now. What's with that? Tenten just doesn't want to be the demon. I do not. The two girls laughed and playfully bickered. Uchiha clan compound. The clan leader's residence, in the courtyard. Bang! Sasuke punched the tree stump, his fist even showing a bloody mark from the force. Itachi watched this scene and frowned, saying, Sasuke, this matter is your fault. You can't throw a tantrum. Sasuke's face was stern. I'm not throwing a tantrum. I just want to defeat that Mariki Lin Shung. Sasuke suddenly looked seriously at Itachi. Big brother, teach me taijutsu. Itachi's expression was slightly helpless. As a doting older brother, it was very difficult for him to refuse Sasuke in such small matters. All right, I will teach you some of the clan's taijutsu now. However, there's a difference in physical ability between you and Rinso. The taijutsu I teach you will be specifically tailored for him. So even if you manage to defeat him, you mustn't think you're truly stronger than him, understand? Sasuke nodded frantically, smiling. Thank you, big brother. I'll remember that. There's no helping you. Itachi smiled. Hyuga clan compound. Hayashi faced the courtyard, kneeling on the ground. In the small courtyard, a branch family ninja of the Hyuga knelt on one knee and reported, Clan head, everything has been investigated. Hinata-sama has been going out frequently these past 2 days, and her personality has shown some changes. There's a high probability it's related to a boy her age named Mariki Lin Shung. Here is his information. The reporting branch family ninja handed over a document. Hyuga Hayashi took it and quickly read through it. Forest fruit shop, parents aren't even ninja. Hyuga Hayashi frowned. I had thought that if Hinata's personality could become a bit stronger and she dared to complain to me, I wouldn't be entirely against her having a few friends. But this Mariki Lin Shung is truly unworthy. Saying that, Hyuga Hayashi didn't even want to look at the rest of the information and immediately prepared to issue an order. Starting tomorrow, forbid Hinata from going out. Make her stay at home and diligently practice gentle fist. The branch family ninja's expression was calm, and he nodded in response. Yes, clan head Sama. Chapter 8 Might Guy Drops. Physical attack talent. An insane physical attack talent. The sun set in the west, and half of the mountain was hidden. In Konoha's public training ground, 2 small figures were exercising. 603x2, 604x2, 605x2, 606. Rinso bent and straightened his arms, completing another push-up. Beside him, a thick-browed boy in coarse linen clothes couldn't keep up and collapsed weakly to the ground, panting heavily. I can't do it. I've reached my limit. The thick-browed boy looked at Rinso, his eyes full of admiration. I didn't expect you to be a year younger than me, yet your stamina is stronger than mine. Have you also been training since you were little? Rinso stopped his movements, feeling inexplicably uneasy. Training since he was little? No, he had only just started training today, or rather, just this afternoon. It was simply his Uzumaki bloodline that provided him with powerful stamina and recovery, allowing him to surpass Rock Lee, who had been training for a long time, on his very first attempt. Yes, it was Rock Lee, one of the future Konoha 12, the embodiment of effort, a genius who shone brightly in the early stages of the original work. After fighting Sasuke in the morning and then integrating Itachi's combat talent, he realized that he could no longer waste time playing around. Therefore, Rinso, who had no ninjutsu to cultivate at home, could only choose to come to the public training ground to train his body. Coincidentally, he met Rock Lee, who was also there to train. The two started with push-ups together and slowly began to compete. The result was obvious. Rinso won completely. Yes, I also started training very early. Rinso didn't intend to hurt Rock Lee's feelings by revealing the truth for a little vanity, so he told a white lie. Haha, this is youth. I didn't expect to meet two such hard-working children. Hearty laughter approached from a distance, and what came into view was a green figure that suddenly burst into the training ground. It was an extremely ugly green jumpsuit, paired with the newcomer's thick eyebrows and bowl cut, which was truly an eyesore. However, this style was approved by Rock Lee beside Rinso. So cool. Mike Guy's eyes instantly widened, as if he had heard an incredible compliment. You mean my outfit is cool? Mike Guy asked with some excitement. Rock Lee nodded very seriously. Yes, a jumpsuit is an excellent choice for both training and combat. The green color not only provides camouflage in the wild, but also represents nature. It's simply amazing. Tears streamed down his face. Without even a second, Mike Guy was already in tears. This is truly exciting. This is youth. Rock Lee was also infected, and tears flowed uncontrollably. I'm so touched too. Seeing this scene, Rinso's mouth twitched. Is it too late for him to get away from these two tear-prone individuals? Do you want to train with me? I can teach you taijutsu, Mike Guy said with a determined look. All right. Mike Guy suddenly stretched his green jumpsuit, a smirk on his face. I can let you wear the same style of jumpsuit as mine. What? I can wear clothes with such a perfect design. Rock Lee trembled with excitement. Rinso, old man, Subway, phone.jpg. Thinking of having to wear a green jumpsuit, even though being taught by Mike Guy would be very tempting, Rinso still chose to refuse. Sorry, I'm more used to training my body according to my own ideas. Mike Guy was slightly disappointed. I see. However, he quickly dispelled this disappointment and looked at Rock Lee, asking, what about you? Thank you very much. Rock Lee saluted excitedly. Excellent. Then let's go train together. Mike Guy invited. Yes. Rock Lee responded. Just a moment ago, he was panting, but now he was full of energy again. Then goodbye, Rinso. Rock Lee showed a mouthful of white teeth and waved with a smile. So your name is Rinso, then goodbye. Mike Guy also grinned, showing the same big white teeth. Goodbye, let's spar sometime. Rinso smiled, thinking that once Rock Lee learned taijutsu from Mike Guy, he could spar with Rock Lee and surely learn a trick or two. Suddenly, Rinso's eyes moved, and his gaze slowly shifted from Mike Guy to the ground. He had just seen something glowing fall from Mike Guy. Mike Guy dropped. Taijutsu talent. Pick up? Yes/no. It dropped. A big item dropped. Rinso didn't hesitate at all and immediately thought, pick up. Then he just as quickly thought, open backpack, directly fuse. Bang! Rinso's body stiffened and he fell straight to the ground. Fortunately, the training ground's floor had shock-absorbing properties, preventing him from being injured. However, Rinso's expression was still painful. The fusion of Mike Guy's taijutsu talent was even more painful than fusing the Uzumaki Bloodline. His body's repairability, endurance, growth potential, explosive power, adaptability, neuroreaction speed, everything was enhanced. His muscles, tendons, and bones were all undergoing transformation. Rinso could even feel that, for the same volume, the power he could unleash had increased by an unknown amount. His current muscle density far exceeded that of ordinary people. Sweat soaked the training grounds floor. Rinso, almost completely exhausted, sat up, his expression unable to hide his joy. As expected of the man who almost kicked out the ending in the original work, this taijutsu talent. If translated into combat terms, it's on the level of Minato in Itachi. If translated into chakra terms, it's Senju Hashirama. In the original work, the 8 inner gates formation, which made people unbearable even after opening the 3rd gate, Mike Guy could easily keep the 7th gate open for a long time. His body's endurance is simply inhuman. Even though I only fused the talent, the indirectly enhanced physical abilities and reaction speed have already significantly boosted my strength. He truly is a monster who, in his normal state, possessed Jonin-level strength purely through taijutsu. Rinso clenched his fist. At first, he was a little unaccustomed, feeling a bit floaty in his arms, but under the powerful taijutsu talent, he mastered it completely in less than 5 seconds. My current physical fitness might have already reached the genin level, and this is only after I haven't trained for long. A person with Uzumaki Bloodline and Might Guy's Taijutsu talent, with both superimposed, there might be no one before or after him. With this thought, Rinso suddenly thought, if I fuse other bloodlines later, will I be able to reach a terrifying level just with the basic amplification? A bloodline's name came to Rinso's mind. Senju Bloodline. Chapter 9 Hinata is forbidden from going out, Lin Sheng's response, and the impending battle. Time flew by. A week passed in the blink of an eye. Noon, Konoha Park. Rinso, you're finally free. You said you were busy all week and couldn't come out to play. Are you finally done now? Tintin hugged Rinso's arm, a smile appearing on her face. Rinso nodded, smiling, yeah, for now, I'm done. Really? Ino narrowed her eyes slightly, seeing Tintin hugging Rinso's arm. Then, she suppressed the bitterness in her heart and asked, what were you busy with? Rinso naturally showed a helpless expression. It's the family fruit store. The fruit tastes good today, and it would be a shame if it went bad without being sold. So, I was just wandering around the village promoting the fruit from a store. So that's it. Ino showed an expression of admiration, a hint of tenderness flashing in her eyes. Rinso, you're amazing. Tintin nodded in full agreement. Yeah, Rinso, you're already helping adults with work. That's so impressive. Rinso smiled a little guiltily, not daring to accept the praise. This past week, he wasn't busy for the so-called store business. For 7 days, every morning, he would wander around the village under the guise of promoting fruit. While promoting fruit, he would casually chat, using his identity as a child to express his admiration for Senju Hashirama, hoping to lure out Senju clan members. In the afternoon, he would go to the training ground to train his body with Lee. Under the Uzumaki Bloodline and Might Guy's Taijutsu talent, his physical fitness grew extremely fast. Now that he had returned to the park to play with Ino and the others, it was naturally because he had made progress in finding Senju clan members. While promoting fruit to an old lady who owned a tailor shop, he casually mentioned his liking for Senju Hashirama, wondering if the Senju clan was even the same species as ordinary people. Such words directly led the old lady to reveal her identity as a member of the Senju clan. Rinso also learned from her that the current members of the Senju clan had mostly integrated into Konoha, dropping the Senju surname, so it was possible that somebody passed on the street possessed the Senju bloodline. With the Senju bloodline matter settled, Rinso naturally returned to his small group. He wasn't an Iron Man. He focused on business when it was time, and once it was done, he naturally wouldn't deprive himself too much. By the way, where's Hinata? Hasn't she arrived yet? Rinso scanned the park. Tintin, Ino, Naruto, Shikamaru, Choji, Sakura. Rinso knew their characters. Even if he wasn't there, they wouldn't abandon Hinata, so there must be a reason for Hinata's absence. You don't know yet? Shikamaru's expression was a bit strange. Rinso sensed something was off and immediately asked them, so what happened? Is Hinata injured and recuperating at home? Or was there another reason? Never mind. Ino, you tell him. Tintin opened her mouth, then swallowed her words back. Ino glared at Tintin, also hesitating to speak. What's there to not say? Hinata was with you 7 days ago and hasn't come out to play since, so we went to look for her. Choji spoke calmly. Halfway through, he popped a dumpling in his mouth. Then, the Hyuga ninja told us that Hinata's father restricted her from going out, saying he didn't want Hinata to be friends with people like you. What do you mean people like you? Choji, if you can't speak properly, then don't. Ino's hesitation was precisely because she didn't want to say such words that would hurt Rinso. The ninja world had always been precocious. How could they not understand the meaning of those words? It was simply looking down on Rinso's family background. Rinso was slightly silent. The atmosphere in the park was a bit heavy. It was clear that Rinso, their leader and core figure, having a bad mood, further dampened everyone else's mood. Ah, I see, well, that really can't be helped. Rinso showed a helpless expression, looking a little unhappy but not taking it to heart. Seeing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Yeah, it's not your fault, Rinso, it's all Hinata's father's fault. Ino, thinking Rinso had recovered, immediately stepped up her efforts to comfort him. That's right, anyway, Hinata can't be restricted forever. It will definitely be lifted later. Tintin also comforted him with concern. Shikamaru observed Rinso up and down, couldn't find any clues, and smiled. Rinso, you were the last one to arrive, so you be the Oni. Noon, lunchtime. At the park entrance, everyone waved goodbye. See you later. Let's play together again tomorrow. Goodbye. Rinso waved goodbye to each of the departing individuals, then looked at Naruto, who hadn't left and was standing behind him. What? Want to have lunch with me? Rinso smiled. Naruto lowered his eyes, shook his head, and slowly said to Rinso, Big brother Rinso, are you feeling very guilty? Rinso's smile stiffened and slowly faded. Naruto, your emotional perception is truly amazing. Indirectly acknowledging Naruto's words, Rinso looked in the direction of the Hyuga clan. Why? It's clearly not your fault, big brother Rinso. Naruto was a bit confused. Rinso shook his head. No, it is my fault. Naruto was even more puzzled. How could it be? You weren't the one who restricted Hinata, big brother Rinso, and you even helped Hinata make so many friends with us. Naruto, I don't know if Hinata and you guys would have become friends without me, but I do know that without me, at least Hinata wouldn't have been restricted from leaving her family. After saying this, Rinso left directly. Behind him, Naruto was slightly stunned. Konoha training ground. When Rinso arrived, he immediately saw two figures, one large and one small, dressed in green jumpsuits. 997. 998. Lee, keep going. This is youth. Might Guy shouted loudly, oblivious to his surroundings. This is youth. Lee was doing push-ups, already at his limit, but with this burst of encouragement, he managed to forcefully do a few more. 1,000. This is youth. Might Guy cried tears of excitement. This made the other ninja in the training ground show expressions of disgust, moving even further away from Might Guy and Lee. Rinso was not affected by this in the slightest and walked straight up to them. Oh, Rinso is here. Are you going to train again? Might Guy grinned, his teeth reflecting light. Rinso's expression was calm, and he looked up directly at Might Guy, his eyes very serious. Might Guy-san, can you teach me some taijutsu moves that can be used in real combat? Might Guy immediately dropped his smile and said seriously, Are you going to use it to fight? Rinso nodded. Yes, I have something I need to do, and during that time, I'll most likely have to fight. Then I won't teach you. Might Guy shook his head, not wanting Rinso to learn taijutsu to fight others at such a young age. Rinso also knew Might Guy's thoughts, so he fully explained the matter of Hinata being restricted from leaving because of him. Might Guy's expression changed as if he understood something. So you want to go to the Hyuga clan? Rinso finally smiled faintly. That's right. At the very least, I need to show the Hyuga clan head my potential so that Hinata can regain her freedom. Might Guy was deeply moved and gave Rinso a thumbs up. For a comrade. All right, I agree. Chapter 10 Lin Sheng's astonishing talent. Kakashi drops. Swordsmanship talent. Your point of force is off. Borrow a little more power from your waist. In the training ground, Might Guy was instructing Rinso in taijutsu. Rinso obediently kicked another right roundhouse kick. Clap. A crisp air explosion sounded. As Might Guy had said, Rinso understood immediately, changed his point of force, and the striking power immediately went up a level. Might Guy watched from the side, his admiration practically overflowing. No instructor would dislike a student who grasps things instantly. In fact, they would adore him. That sense of successful teaching was captivating. Might Guy was currently in this state. As a ninja with extremely high taijutsu talent, he rarely encountered other ninja who specialized in taijutsu like him. To begin with, even if he did, when he instructed them, they would find it difficult to understand him. For example, with a kick, he instinctively knew how to exert force, and slightly more difficult moves he would learn after a couple of instructions. So, when he taught others based on his own experience of learning taijutsu, it was difficult for others to learn and follow. Back and forth, the learners were confused, and the teacher was frustrated. Over time, he grew to dislike teaching others taijutsu. However, Lee and Rinso were exceptions. Lee's comprehension could only be described as decent, but he was incredibly diligent. If he couldn't learn something, he would secretly practice extra, and by the second time he saw it, he would have mastered it. As for Rinso, he didn't need a second time at all. Some techniques, once explained, he would immediately grasp, and once used, he would be proficient. Might Guy even felt like he was teaching a strengthened version of himself. He simply couldn't stop teaching. Thus, unknowingly, he had already taught Rinso many techniques, significantly improving Rinso's taijutsu level. Da-da! Footsteps approached. Might Guy looked beside him, and Kakashi, with his white hair and half-face mask, appeared by his side. Kakashi, no mission today? Might Guy's eyes lit up as he looked at his good friend. Kakashi nodded, calmly saying, Yes, I just finished an S-rank mission. I should be able to rest well for the next half a month. By the way, what's this? Did you take on a disciple? Kakashi looked at Rinso with some confusion. Might Guy shook his head. No, I'm just teaching him a bit of taijutsu. Kakashi's calm eyes showed a hint of interest. That's not like you. Might Guy smiled, glanced at Rinso, and, after getting Rinso's visual permission, he fully explained the entire situation to Kakashi. Hearing that Rinso decided to fight to restore his companion's freedom, Kakashi was slightly moved. Memories gradually surfaced in his mind, the hand piercing Rin's chest. To this day, he could still recall that chilling scene. For a companion, Kakashi's lips moved, and he slowly spoke. You can lower the amplitude of your kicks. While that will reduce power, it allows you to retract your leg faster, reducing openings. Hearing Kakashi's words, Rinso was startled, then quickly reacted. It was clear Kakashi also wanted to teach him something. Without hesitation, Rinso immediately complied. With a kick and a retraction, his movements were indeed much faster. Kakashi, watching from the side, his eyes lit up, and an inexplicable sense of satisfaction arose in his heart. Their eyes met, and both saw the same feeling in each other's eyes. So, what happened next was that Rinso found Kakashi and Might Guy seemed to be competing. One would teach him a certain technique, and the other would immediately teach a more advanced version of the same type of technique. Neither would concede to the other, as if they were verifying whose taijutsu level was higher. This resulted in him being like a puppet at their mercy for the entire afternoon, letting the two of them compete over whose teaching ability was stronger. If Rinso hadn't possessed the Uzumaki Bloodline and Might Guy's taijutsu talent, with astonishing recovery abilities, he would probably have collapsed from exhaustion long ago. However, even if he hadn't collapsed, Rinso wasn't feeling great. His body was almost at its limit, and his internal energy was completely depleted. And Kakashi and Might Guy only realized Rinso's face had turned pale and then quickly stopped their instruction. It wasn't that they were obsessed. It was simply that the feeling of teaching someone and immediately receiving positive feedback was too addictive. After an entire afternoon, both of them were incredibly satisfied. Kakashi-san, Might Guy-san, I can't take it anymore. I want to go eat something. Why don't you two come along? It's just a small token of my appreciation. Rinso showed a somewhat pathetic smile, making Kakashi and Might Guy feel inexplicably guilty. It seemed they had been so caught up in their own enjoyment that they had completely drained Rinso. Cough. I'm a senior, so I'll treat. Kakashi coughed lightly, too embarrassed to let Rinso pay. Rinso smiled, truly too weak for pleasantries, and simply collapsed weakly to the ground. Ichiraku ramen. Rinso slurped his noodles, his complexion much improved, and a stack of 10 bowls had already accumulated beside him. Might Guy and Lee, who had been called over, were not far behind. As taijutsu ninja, their digestive abilities were extremely strong. They ate a little less than Rinso, but still consumed 8 bowls and 3 bowls, respectively. Kakashi, who was treating, his eye twitching, watched as Rinso and the other two had already eaten so much while he hadn't even finished 1 bowl. He felt a pang in his chest. Ah, it seems you really love my ramen. Tucci looked at Rinso. Although a bit tired, seeing Rinso appreciate his ramen so much, eating 10 bowls, he was still in a very good mood. Not at all. I know someone. I estimate I can't even compare to half of her. As he said this, Rinso thought of Hinata, feeling a bit puzzled. How could such a small body eat so much? Could it be that she digests it immediately after eating, and all the nutrients gather in a certain place? Very likely. Rinso silently affirmed his conjecture. Are you all full? Kakashi took out his wallet, intending to pay. Tucci looked at Kakashi and smiled. No need. Rinso secretly gave me quite a bit of money when he first arrived, enough to cover your meals. I even need to give him some change. What? Kakashi was stunned, looking at Rinso. Rinso grinned. Kakashi-san, you only ate 1 bowl, and I ate 10. I'd feel bad letting you pay. Under his mask, Kakashi's lips curled slightly. The next day, Rinso once again declined Ino and the others' invitation to play together, arriving at the training ground early in the morning, ready to continue training taijutsu with Might Guy. However, when he arrived at the training ground, besides the steadfast Might Guy and Lee, Kakashi, whom he had just met yesterday, was also prominently there. Seeing Rinso arrive, Kakashi smiled. Given that you treated yesterday, I'll teach you a bit more. Rinso was startled at first, then smiled and nodded. Okay. Not far away, Might Guy laughed happily. Kakashi, you seem to be more cheerful. Kakashi glanced at Might Guy, annoyed. Well, I really have you to thank for constantly pestering me. Is that so? I didn't think that much, haha. Might Guy readily accepted, completely disregarding the true meaning of Kakashi's words. Sigh. Kakashi really had no way to deal with Might Guy, so he simply ignored him and looked at Rinso, saying, Today, I'll teach you. Why do you seem a bit distracted? Kakashi noticed that Rinso seemed to have suddenly seen something, and then became somewhat lost in thought. Nothing. I just suddenly thought of something. Rinso brushed it off, but his gaze was fixed on Kakashi's feet. Just now, he had watched a ball of light fall from Kakashi's body. Kakashi dropped. Swordsmanship talent. Pick up? Yes/no. It seemed he had more things to learn. Chapter 11. Fusing swordsmanship talent, sparring with Xiao Li, showing off combat talent. Pick up. Rinso silently chanted in his heart, watching the ball of light on the ground merge into his body. System, what will happen if I fuse swordsmanship talent? Rinso asked inwardly. Nothing. Rinso wasn't surprised. Something like swordsmanship talent most likely wouldn't involve physical modification, so no reaction was within his expectations. He asked purely out of caution. Open inventory, fuse directly. Rinso gave the command. In almost a single breath, Rinso didn't even feel any changes, and the fusion was already complete. Rinso silently thought, I should find time to buy a wooden sword and test the strength of this swordsmanship talent. In the original work, Kakashi seemed to be a swordsmanship genius, but I wondered to what extent. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Rinso composed himself and looked at Kakashi and Might Guy, saying, what aspect of taijutsu are we learning today? Kakashi said, today, we're not teaching taijutsu. We're teaching you how to respond to others' attacks. Might Guy nodded from the side. Taijutsu isn't rigid. Just learning it isn't enough. You also need to be able to use it in actual combat. So today, you'll be sparring with Lee. All right. Rinso took it in and looked at Lee, saying, Lee, let's go. Yes. Lee shouted, full of vigor. Training ground, open space. Rinso and Lee stood on opposite sides, simultaneously forming the seal of confrontation. I'm coming. Lee straightforwardly spoke, even reminding Rinso. Rinso smiled and replied, okay. Soon Lee moved. He crouched down, his footsteps extremely fast, running around erratically, not wanting Rinso to predict his attack. However, in Rinso's eyes, with his superb combat talent, Lee's movements were nothing short of wasted effort. Rinso moved directly, starting to run circles around Lee. Lee stopped in place, trying to pinpoint Rinso's direction to launch an attack. But Rinso kept moving, leaving him helpless. A simple circling movement directly nullified Lee's offensive, making him passive instead. I'm going in. Rinso's voice suddenly rang out. Lee was startled, turned around, and saw Rinso less than half a meter away, delivering a right roundhouse kick. Lee hurriedly extended his leg to block, but saw Rinso forcibly retract his leg and instead kick him with the other leg. Bang! Rinso's kick landed heavily on Lee's thigh, making Lee painfully drop to one knee. Not far away, Kakashi and Might Guy, who were watching, exchanged glances, both a little surprised. Kakashi said, Might Guy, did you see that? Rinso's kicking speed just now. Might Guy nodded, I saw it. The movement was very small, which allowed him to quickly retract his leg after Lee kicked and then deliver a second kick. That's what you taught him yesterday. A skill he just learned yesterday, and he's already able to use it in actual combat, and so appropriately. His combat talent is incredible. Might Guy gave a very high evaluation. Even I, as a child, might not have been able to do it. Kakashi directly gave an extremely high evaluation. Even Might Guy showed a shocked expression when he heard Kakashi's words. Kakashi, you graduated from the Ninja Academy and became a genin at 5 years old. I'm just talking about combat talent. Kakashi explained, but a voice in his heart inexplicably told him. Perhaps Rinso's strength was not just in combat talent. Noon. Rinso bid farewell to Kakashi, Might Guy, and Lee, agreeing to continue training at the training ground in the afternoon, then walked towards his family's fruit shop. You're back from training? Hurry up and eat lunch. Mariki Hanako saw her precious son, who had sweated a lot, return, and a trace of heartache flashed in her eyes. However, being in Konoha village, and knowing that her son was fortunate enough to be guided by powerful ninja, she couldn't really stop anything. I'm eating out for lunch. Rinso told his mom, then started taking a bag and picking out some fruits in the fruit shop. Mariki Hanako was immediately a little angry when she saw this. You're not thinking of just eating some fruit for lunch, are you? Rinso shook his head. No, that's not good for the body. These fruits are for the two ninja who are teaching me taijutsu. Her anger subsided. Mariki Hanako spoke with concern, reaching out to stroke Rinso's head. You must eat well. If you don't have enough money, tell mom, okay? Feeling the warmth, Rinso couldn't help but smile. Got it. All right, then mom won't say any more. Mariki Hanako withdrew her hand and watched Rinso leave. However, Rinso, after leaving the fruit shop, did not deliver the fruits to Kakashi and Might Guy. He knew what kind of people they were. Giving fruit would be too calculating. It would be better to treat them to ramen more often when he had time. This bag of fruit was for that old lady with the Senju bloodline. Miho Tailor Shop, a small shop occupying only about 30 square meters, located outside the village's commercial street. Those who hadn't been there wouldn't even know there was a shop here. Knock, knock. Rinso knocked on the door. Soon, the door opened. An old woman with white hair and a face full of wrinkles appeared before Rinso. Seeing her, Rinso lifted a bag of fruit and smiled. Grandma Miho, I brought you some fruit. Would you mind telling me more about the first Hokage-sama's deeds? Senju Miho's wrinkled face showed a slight smile, and she softly said, It's rare for anyone nowadays to still be interested in Hashirama. How could this old woman find it troublesome? Little Rinso, come in quickly. Yes. The plan was going smoothly, and Rinso's face showed a happy smile. Senju Miho, seeing this, believed even more that Rinso was genuinely interested in Senju Hashirama's deeds. Thus, in the small tailor shop, this storytelling lasted for half an hour. To Rinso's surprise, Senju Miho actually started from the Sengoku period, when Senju Hashirama was a child. There were some things that even he, a transmigrator, didn't know. Slowly, he actually developed a genuine interest. If he didn't have to go train in the afternoon, he would have really wanted to listen longer. It could also increase the chance of Senju Miho dropping the Senju bloodline. I still have training at the training ground this afternoon, so I'll be going now. I'll come find you again tomorrow, Grandma Miho. Rinso politely said goodbye. Senju Miho showed a kind smile. Go on. This old woman still has many stories to tell, but when you come tomorrow, don't bring any more fruit. I can't eat that much. Okay, goodbye, Grandma Miho. Rinso agreed, waved, and left. Not long after Rinso left, Senju Miho's smile disappeared, and she spoke to the air. Little Rinso is gone. Aren't you coming out yet? As Senju Miho's voice fell. In the small tailor shop, a figure walked in from outside the door and took off his hat. The face under the hat, if Rinso hadn't left, he would definitely have recognized. The person who came was the current leader of Konoha, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Chapter 12. A week's gains, heading to the Hyuga clan. As Konoha's honorary and de facto highest-ranking individual, Hiruzen Sarutobi didn't put on any airs. Instead, he spoke with a hint of respect in his tone. Miho-sama, there have been too many things recently, so I haven't been able to visit you. I hope you won't blame me. Hiruzen Sarutobi's humble demeanor was enough to shock 90% of Konoha's population. Senju Miho, however, looked completely natural, not at all uncomfortable. It's fine. I'm just an old woman, and you're the Hokage. There's no need for you to visit me. How could you say that? Miho-sama is a senior I deeply respect. Hiruzen Sarutobi maintained his humble posture. After all, the Senju Miho in front of him was the highest-ranking individual among all existing Senju clan members. Don't let the fact that the Senju clan has integrated into the village and largely dropped the Senju surname mislead you. But if Senju Miho were to raise her arm, she could still gather many Senju clan members, forming a force that should not be underestimated. Furthermore, Senju Miho was an old Senju who was born during the Sengoku period, and she even witnessed the rise of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. Despite not being intimidated by such influence and seniority, Hiruzen Sarutobi would still show her adequate respect. Hiruzen, if you can, please look after young Rinso. He is a child with the will of fire, Miho slowly said. The will of fire, you say? Hiruzen Sarutobi did not easily make a promise, but his interest in Rinso grew a few more points. At a lower level, he could become a leader in small groups, making the heirs of many prominent families willing to obey him. At a middle level, he could make pillars of the village like Kakashi Hitaki and make guy feel close to him. At a higher level, he could earn the favoritism of influential elders like Senju Miho after just a few meetings. Upon closer thought, Hiruzen Sarutobi was surprised to realize that if Rinso were an adult ninja with some renown, as long as he had sufficient strength, he would undoubtedly be positioned as the next Hokage. Hiruzen Sarutobi felt that perhaps his earlier impression of seeing Minato Namake's shadow in Rinso was not an illusion. Afternoon. Training ground. From afar, Rinso heard voices coming from inside. Keep going. Do another 100. Mike Guy shouted passionately. Yes. Lee responded with equal passion. Beside them, Kakashi leaned against the wall, calmly watching the scene. Tap tap. Rinso's footsteps sounded, making Kakashi look over, only to see Rinso approaching with a wooden sword. Kakashi asked in confusion, a sword? Are you going to train in swordsmanship? Rinso didn't deny it, nodding. I want to see if I have talent in that area, so I'm giving it a try. Hearing Rinso say that, Kakashi's interest was piqued. He had trained in swordsmanship with his father, Sakomo Hitaki, since childhood, becoming a Genin at 5, a Chunin at 6, and a Jonin at 12. His swordsmanship skill accounted for a large portion of his overall strength. It could be said that his swordsmanship was among the best in Konoha, if not the absolute best. Now that Rinso wanted to learn swordsmanship, it just so happened to be an area he excelled in. The only thing Kakashi was unsure about was Rinso's swordsmanship talent. If it was too poor, there was nothing he could do. However, very quickly, within just 10 minutes, Kakashi realized he had worried too much. Because Rinso's swordsmanship talent was not much inferior to his taijutsu talent. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wooden sword was wielded by Rinso with great force. Like a natural swordsman, in just 10 minutes, Rinso had already, without Kakashi's guidance, quickly mastered the sword-holding posture, basic sword moves like chopping, slashing, and thrusting purely by physical instinct. Watching from the side, Kakashi even felt as if he was watching his younger self learn the sword. No, Rinso was even more of a genius than he was in his youth. The body's flexibility and coordination, these taijutsu talents, also provided some benefit in learning swordsmanship. And Rinso's taijutsu talent goes without saying. Finally, Kakashi couldn't help but speak. "Rinso, do you want to learn swordsmanship from me?" Rinso stopped his sword-wielding, grinning. "That's exactly what I had in mind." Time flew by quickly. In the blink of an eye, a week had passed. Rinso continued his daily routine. In the mornings, he went to the training ground to learn taijutsu with Might Guy and Kakashi, and he had already mastered the basic taijutsu move, Konoha Whirlwind. At noon, he would unfailingly bring a bag of fruit to visit Senju, listening to her recount stories from the Sengoku period in early Konoha, which he found quite interesting. Although Senju still hadn't dropped the Senju bloodline, Rinso was no longer in a hurry. In the afternoons, Rinso would take his wooden sword and learn swordsmanship with Kakashi. Under Kakashi's instruction, he had become completely familiar with the Hataki-style swordsmanship and had mastered all the basic sword moves. It's worth mentioning that during this week, Rinso still acquired some dropped items. They were dropped by Kakashi, Might Guy, and Lee, and then picked up. Kakashi dropped 2 items. One was the basic ninjutsu clone jutsu, and the other was lightning release chakra. Both had already been fused by Rinso. Clone jutsu, needless to say, although a basic ninjutsu, having been dropped by Kakashi, saved a lot of training effort and had a high level of proficiency. As for lightning release chakra, Rinso didn't have much of a real feeling about it. To be honest, he hadn't even tested his chakra nature yet. However, with the system, he would eventually acquire all chakra natures, so there was actually no need to test it. Aside from Kakashi, Might Guy and Lee only dropped 1 item each. Might Guy dropped summoning jutsu, and Lee dropped physical toughness. Rinso didn't need the former right now, but it wasn't useless. As for the latter, after fusing it, Rinso felt his body was somewhat superhuman. The powerful recovery brought by the Uzumaki bloodline, the muscle self-healing ability from Might Guy's taijutsu talent, and the adaptability and self-healing ability from Lee's physical toughness. The most obvious result of these 3 stacking was that even though Rinso was the one being instructed and constantly expending stamina, his stamina seemed inexhaustible, and his body remained in peak condition at all times. In other words, as long as he had enough food, he could keep training indefinitely. Conversely, Kakashi and Might Guy, who were instructing him, had dry throats. In 1 week, on the taijutsu front, my fundamentals are flawless, and I've learned the Konoha Whirlwind move. In swordsmanship, all basic sword moves are proficient, and soon I'll be able to learn advanced sword moves. In terms of physical strength, according to Kakashi and Might Guy, I'm not weak, even among genin. Rinso muttered to himself, clenching his fist and feeling the power in his body, slowly exhaling. Phew, it's time to visit the Hyuga clan. Chapter 13, Meeting Hyuga Hayashi. On the eve of the battle with Hyuga Niji, the Hyuga clan, outside the Hyuga estate, the sun hung high. When Rinso was ready for battle and arrived outside the Hyuga estate, he was immediately stopped by 2 branch family ninja guards. The 2 gate guards, one on the left and one on the right, jointly blocked the estate's main gate, preventing Rinso from entering. Where did this kid come from, trying to barge into the Hyuga estate? "Get out of here," the left gate guard said, frowning as he shooed him away. "State your name. If you have an appointment with someone, we can help inform them," the right gate guard said calmly. Rinso looked helpless and could only tell the truth. "My name is Mariki Lin Sheng. I'm Hinata's friend, and I'm here to see Hinata." The left gate guard looked impatient. "Lady Hinata? She's been grounded by the clan head Sama for a long time. Hurry up and leave. Don't waste our time here." The right gate guard also shook his head. "If that's the case, then we won't let you in." Seeing their firm attitude, Rinso said, "Then could I trouble you to tell clan head Hayashi that I'd like to meet him, please?" "You kid, why won't you leave? If you—" The left gate guard's voice was tinged with resentment, clearly annoyed by Rinso's persistence. "Don't lose your temper with a child," the right gate guard interjected. After a slight hesitation, he said, "I'll go inform him for you." With that, he gestured with his eyes for the left gate guard to continue watching Rinso, then turned and jogged away to deliver the message. Rinso closed his eyes and waited quietly, in no hurry. Time passed, minute by minute. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Accompanied by 2 sets of footsteps, Rinso opened his eyes. At the estate entrance, the right gate guard had returned and stood back at the door. And in front of the right gate guard, a middle-aged man emanating a powerful aura stood before Rinso. Gulp. Unconsciously swallowing, Rinso stood his ground against the powerful aura emanating from the man in front of him, not retreating a single step. "Greetings, clan head Hayashi." Hyuga Hayashi grunted indifferently, sizing up Rinso. "He's not bad-looking. No wonder Hinata has been talking about him all these days." Thinking this, Hayashi became even more displeased. His precious daughter was being led astray like this. How could he be willing? Hyuga Hayashi suppressed his emotions and spoke calmly. "Considering you are Hinata's friend, I have come out. You may now state why you sought me." As the clan head of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hayashi exuded an imposing aura. Even without doing anything, he exerted immense psychological pressure. The two guards at the estate entrance even had cold sweat on their foreheads. Yet, Rinso replied neither obsequiously nor arrogantly. Clan head Hyuga, I wish to ask you to lift Hinata's grounding. Hyuga Hayashi's expression showed that he had expected this. Then he said coldly, then you can leave now. With that, Hyuga Hayashi turned to leave, not intending to give Rinso another chance to speak. Watching Hyuga Hayashi's retreating back, Rinso understood that mere words would be mostly useless. He had never fantasized about solving the problem with words. He didn't have talk no jutsu. Therefore, what he had to do was always rely on his own strength. Clan head Hayashi, may I ask who is the strongest among the Hyuga clan's younger generation currently? Could you allow me to fight him? To keep Hyuga Hayashi from leaving, Rinso shouted loudly. Hyuga Hayashi stopped, slowly turned around, and looked at Rinso again. Humph. I originally didn't intend to bother with you since you're still young, but it seems you won't give up easily. Since that's the case, I'll indulge you. Go call Niji, Hyuga Hayashi ordered. Yes. The left gate guard immediately moved like a lackey. On the street, many Konoha village villagers walking by saw this scene and began to whisper. Are they going to fight? It looks like that kid wants to challenge the Hyuga clan's younger generation. Who is that kid? That face. I think I've seen him at the training ground. Jonin Kakashi Hitaki and Jonin Might Guy are both teaching him taijutsu. Hyuga Hayashi frowned slightly, feeling like he had heard something not quite right. Kakashi Hitaki, Might Guy, two Jonin pillars of the village, teaching Mariki Lin Shung, a child with no background? Now that you mention it, I remember too. His name seems to be Mariki Lin Shung. Mariki Lin Shung? The one who fought Uchiha Sasuke, the son of the Uchiha clan head, half a month ago and won. I see. No wonder he dares to challenge the Hyuga clan. He truly has strength. Hyuga Hayashi's eyelids twitched, and an uneasy feeling arose in his heart. He defeated Uchiha Sasuke? Was this still the same fruit shop kid with no background that he knew? Just as Hyuga Hayashi was wondering, something even more surprising happened. Rinso, big brother. Rinso-kun. Uzumaki Naruto rushed to the front, followed closely by Tenten and Ino, and behind them were Shikamaru, Choji, and Sakura. The group called Rinso's name and immediately surrounded him. Rinso-kun, what's wrong? Tenten asked with concern. Yeah, what's wrong? I was playing in a nearby park and heard someone was going to challenge the Hyuga clan, so I rushed over. Why is it you? Ino asked worriedly. A glint flashed in Shikamaru's eyes. You're challenging the Hyuga clan to get clan head Hayashi to lift Hinata's grounding, aren't you? As expected of you, Shikamaru. Rinso didn't deny it, then said, you guys go watch from the side. Don't worry, I won't lose. Okay, Rinso, big brother. You can definitely do it. Naruto didn't know the true worth of the Hyuga clan, but he chose to believe Rinso. Yes, we believe in you. Everyone echoed. Although they hadn't seen each other for a week, their friendship with Rinso had not faded. On the contrary, after learning that Rinso was training desperately to free Hinata, they trusted Rinso even more. At the estate entrance, Hyuga Hayashi's eyelids twitched, his shock inexpressible. A fruit shop kid being taught by two Jonin was one thing. Now, he had gathered such a group of people around him. The fourth Hokage's orphan, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Naruto, the direct descendants of the three great Ino, Shika, Cho clans, the daughter of Konoha's largest ninja tool shop owner. The only one he didn't know was the pink-haired Sakura Haruno. However, it wasn't over yet. Just as Hyuga Hayashi was unsure how Rinso had managed all this, two more figures appeared. Konoha's genius, Uchiha Itachi, appeared, holding his younger brother, Uchiha Sasuke's hand. As soon as Uchiha Sasuke appeared, he immediately shouted, don't you dare lose to anyone from the Hyuga clan, understood? Rinso looked at Sasuke and Itachi, a smile appearing on his face. Of course. Hyuga Hayashi's astonishment was evident. The Uchiha clan too? Chapter 14 Fighting Hyuga Niji. Using his own method against him. Hyuga Hayashi swallowed slightly, somewhat doubting whether Mariki Lin Shung's identity as a fruit shop owner's child was real. Someone who could gather these powerful clan signs. Could he be an ordinary person with no background? So, should he lift Hinata's house arrest and let Hinata interact with Rinso? This thought popped into Hyuga Hayashi's mind. Then he quickly dismissed it. What if Rinso had an even greater background? Even if he were the Hokage's son, he wouldn't value him much. Given Hinata's status and bloodline, she was destined for an intra-clan marriage in the future, so severing her ties with Mariki Lin Shung now was the best choice. After Hyuga Hayashi thought it through, his expression returned to calm. Just then, the left gate guard, bringing the 5-year-old Hyuga Niji, finally arrived. Clan head Sama, I've brought him, the left gate guard said, bowing obsequiously. Hyuga Hayashi responded casually, then looked down at Hyuga Niji, giving a cold command, defeat him. Hyuga Niji's expression was deadpan. He nodded silently and slowly walked towards Mariki Linshang. Seeing this, the villagers and Shikomu, who knew a duel was about to happen, immediately stepped back. Soon, with Rinso and Hyuga Niji at the center, everyone spontaneously formed a circle, clearing enough space for the duel. Mariki Linshang. Rinso introduced himself, then raised his hand, forming the confrontation seal. Hyuga Niji paused, then followed suit, also forming the confrontation seal. Hyuga Niji. The two stopped speaking and tacitly moved apart. Without a referee, both almost simultaneously adopted a combat stance. Seemingly sensing Rinso's unusual nature, Hyuga Niji immediately activated his Byakugan, veins bulging around his eyes. Rinso held extreme caution towards Hyuga Niji. The power boost of the Byakugan, at their current stage, was even stronger than the so-called Uchiha Bloodline or Senju Bloodline. This was also why, despite being able to defeat Sasuke long ago, he had waited so long before challenging the Hyuga clan. Hyuga Niji was definitely a powerful opponent, many times more troublesome than the current Sasuke. The Hyuga clan's once-in-a-century genius was no exaggeration. Even now, he could only claim a 99% chance of victory. Whoosh! Hyuga Niji made the first probing strike with his palm, incredibly fast, even creating a whooshing sound. Rinso's eyes narrowed. He quickly raised his arm to deflect the strike, then immediately counterattacked with his other hand. The entire sequence of movements took Rinso no more than a second, his actions fluid and without any superfluous motion. However, Hyuga Niji dodged sideways, only having his clothes brushed by Rinso's punch. The enhancement of the Byakugan was evident. Rinso marveled at the Byakugan's power in his heart, unaware that the hearts of others were already churning with shock. Just now, I almost. With just one simple probe, Hyuga Niji felt unprecedented pressure, and a drop of cold sweat seeped from his forehead. At the entrance, Hyuga Hayashi's eyes flashed with surprise. Such solid taijutsu fundamentals, not a single wasted movement, and his reaction speed and attack speed are both extremely strong. He can actually completely match Niji, who has activated his Byakugan. Among the onlookers, several ninja, seeing the exchange between Hyuga Niji and Rinso, gasped in surprise. His attack speed is so fast, it's almost as good as mine, and I'm a genin. Comparing people only makes you angry. At such a young age, he already possesses such terrifying strength. Seeing them reminds me of Kakashi Jonin. They say Kakashi Jonin became a genin at 5 years old. Beside him, Uzumaki Naruto heard this and immediately raised his head, beaming with pride. 5 years old? Rinso and Ai-san is only 4. 4 years old? How was that possible? 4 years old. And he already has this kind of strength. The ninja were all astonished. Damn it, how can he be so strong? Sasuke listened to their discussion, a sense of despair growing in his heart. He couldn't even clearly see the movements of Rinso and Hyuga Niji. Rinso wins this duel, Uchiha Itachi suddenly said. What? Sasuke looked at his brother in surprise. They had just started fighting, not even serious yet. How could he tell who would win? Seeing his younger brother's confusion, Uchiha Itachi explained, Hyuga Niji's speed is due to the Byakugan's enhancement. But Mariki Linshang's overall physical conditioning is up to par. Speed is just one of his less remarkable aspects. Yet, it's already Hyuga Niji's strong suit. Uchiha Itachi didn't lower his voice, and his statement immediately made everyone's eyes widen slightly. As a genius with considerable renown in Konoha, Uchiha Itachi's words carried a lot of credibility. So, according to Uchiha Itachi's meaning, Hyuga Niji's strong suit only just matched Rinso's weakness? Hyuga Niji gritted his teeth, clearly having heard Uchiha Itachi's words. I won't lose. Hyuga Niji gathered his full spirit, no longer probing, and launched a full power attack at Rinso. One palm. Whoosh! The palm wind swept past, closing in on Rinso's chest. Rinso's expression was calm. He unhurriedly took a step back. How is this possible? Hyuga Niji's palm stopped exactly 1 inch in front of Rinso's chest. A weakness. Seizing Hyuga Niji's momentary stun, Rinso delivered a perfectly aimed punch, striking his chest. Hyuga Niji staggered back from the impact, his expression pained. Niji, don't rush, use your strengths. Hyuga Hayashi reminded him. Yes. Hyuga Niji steadied himself, realizing he had been somewhat affected. Uchiha Itachi's words weren't gospel. He refused to believe he would lose to an ordinary person younger than him. Gentle fist art. Chakra gathered in his hands. Hyuga Niji was utterly serious. Seeing this, Rinso's expression once again became solemn. 8 trigrams palms. The Hyuga clan's inherited martial art was definitely a trump card that allowed one to defeat the strong with the weak. Raising his arms, Rinso intended to avoid its sharp edge. 8 trigrams, 2 palms. Whoosh whoosh. Hyuga Niji quickly delivered 2 palm strikes. Rinso raised his arms and blocked, his body unharmed, but 2 bruises immediately appeared on his arms. 4 palms. Hyuga Niji attacked like a furious storm, giving Rinso no chance to breathe. Clatter. Rinso was struck and slid backward, the bruises on his arms further expanding, a wave of soreness washing over him. Is he still holding on? Hyuga Niji refused to give up, continuing his palm strikes, which comprised his entire mastery of the gentle fist art and 8 trigrams palms at that moment. 8 trigrams, 8 palms. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Hyuga Niji delivered 8 palms at extreme speed, continuously striking Rinso's arms. Rinso continuously retreated, the bruises on his arms once again expanding, and a wound even appeared on his skin, crimson blood forming a trail, dripping onto the ground along Rinso's arm. Rinso and I-san. Naruto cried out worriedly. Rinso-kun. Tenten clutched her clothes, extremely concerned. If you can't win, don't force it. Ino's voice carried a hint of agitated concern. Rinso lowered his arms and grinned at them. Don't worry, I can win. Then he looked back at Hyuga Niji and slowly said, It's my turn to counterattack, isn't it? Hyuga Niji didn't speak, merely adopting a defensive stance. The gentle fist was still quite taxing for him at the moment. Since he couldn't defeat Rinso, he had no choice but to switch to defense and wait for another opportunity. However, under everyone's gaze, Rinso placed his left hand forward, palm facing the enemy, and raised his right hand high. That stance, everyone's pupils constricted. And Rinso, after striking his pose, slowly uttered the name of the technique. Gentle fist art, 8 trigrams palms. Chapter 15. Victory over Hyuga Niji. 2 consecutive drops, an unexpected gain. Hyuga Hayashi's eyes widened, his face filled with disbelief. He repeatedly denied, Impossible. This is a family martial art of my Hyuga clan. Even a genius would need to put in an immense amount of effort. Furthermore, you don't even have to be a Kugan. Using 8 trigrams palms would be even more difficult. Around them, the onlookers also started to question. Exactly. Hyuga Niji has to be a Kugan and is a true genius of the Hyuga clan, yet he has only mastered 8 trigrams palms. It's impossible for Rinso to learn it in such a short time. In my opinion, Rinso probably hasn't recognized his own limits and thinks he's learned it. When he actually makes a move, it'll just be a joke. Such a show-off, that kid. Sasuke looked at Itachi, seeking an answer. Brother, did Rinso really learn it? Uchiha Itachi, uncharacteristically, showed a hint of uncertainty. I'm not sure. The gentle fist of the Hyuga clan isn't as simple as it seems. If he really could learn it, then Rinso's taijutsu talent would be unmatched in Konoha village. The noisy discussions around him made Rinso frown slightly, but he didn't argue. He understood that once he made his move, the doubts would naturally disappear. 8 trigrams, 2 palms. Whoosh, whoosh, almost perfectly replicating Hyuga Niji's movements. Rinso quickly struck out with 2 palms. With the added force of his powerful blows, he created 2 blood-red wounds on Hyuga Niji's arm. Hyuga Niji was still young and couldn't bear the pain, crying out in agony as both his arms fell limply to his sides. Not only did Rinso use 8 trigrams palms, but he also severely injured Hyuga Niji with just 2 palms. The overwhelming difference in skill and physical strength created this one-sided situation. Can you still go on? Rinso didn't press his advantage, but instead asked. Hearing this, Hyuga Niji gritted his teeth and nodded, then suddenly realized something. You learned the rest of it too? Rinso smiled slightly, striking his opening pose again, choosing to answer with action. 8 trigrams, 4 palms. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh whoosh. Another 4 palms struck, landing heavily on Hyuga Niji, inflicting significant damage. Thud. Niji slumped to the ground, his body weak and unable to resist. He looked at Rinso, his eyes filled with deep self-doubt. Was he truly a genius? Nearby, Hyuga Hayashi could barely stand steady. His Hyuga clan's gentle fist, just like that, was learned by someone else. What a joke. Big brother Rinso. Oh, Naruto excitedly jumped up, cheering for Rinso. Tenten and Ino simultaneously covered their mouths, their cheeks flushing. Shikamaru couldn't help but click his tongue. He's really making a big show of himself. Sasuke lowered his head, clenching his fists, his voice somewhat dejected. Brother, can the taijutsu you taught me help me beat Rinso? Uchiha Itachi didn't speak, because it was already obvious. With Rinso's current taijutsu strength, he could no longer be defeated by simply learning some specific moves. Sasuke, wait until you awaken the power of the Sharingan. If I awaken the Sharingan, I can defeat Rinso? Sasuke asked expectantly. You might be able to last a few more moves. Itachi chose to tell Sasuke this cruel truth. Sasuke's face immediately fell. If I can't beat him with taijutsu, once I learn ninjutsu, I'll definitely win. Uchiha Itachi subtly shook his head, but didn't further dampen his little brother's confidence. Having a goal to chase after isn't a bad thing. Clan head Hayashi, can you now lift Hinata's house arrest? Rinso endured the discomfort in his arms and looked at Hyuga Hayashi. Hyuga Hayashi's face was grim, making it impossible to discern his emotions. When did I ever agree to that? Hyuga Hayashi's words left Rinso momentarily stunned. He truly hadn't expected that the esteemed clan head of the Hyuga clan would be so shameless. Father! An anxious voice suddenly came from behind him. Hyuga Hayashi turned to look. The newcomer was petite, with neat blue hair and two catfish whisker-like strands of hair framing her cheeks, adding to her cuteness. A trace of almost imperceptible tenderness flashed in Hyuga Hayashi's eyes, then immediately returned to his usual sternness. Hinata, why are you here? Have you finished today's gentle fist practice? Hyuga Hinata didn't answer immediately. Instead, she blinked, looking with some concern at the figure outside the mansion gate. Even after half a month, Rinso's image hadn't faded from her mind. Instead, it had become even clearer. The figure who helped her up, the figure who defeated the bad guys. His smile, just for her, she couldn't forget any of it. For this, she even voluntarily practiced extra every day, just to gain her father's approval and the freedom to go outside. Although it was very difficult and tiring for her, she still persevered. The only thing that worried, even scared her, was that after she gained her freedom, Rinso wouldn't remember her, or wouldn't be willing to accept her. After all, she was just a clumsy person who constantly caused trouble and had no real abilities. It's just, Rinso-kun, your arms. Tears uncontrollably welled up, and Hyuga Hinata spoke with a slight sob. Rinso-kun, why would you do this for me? I'm clearly just an unimportant person. Rinso's face showed a hint of displeasure. What do you mean, unimportant? You're a friend, I acknowledge. Saying that, Rinso looked at Hyuga Hayashi, his expression firm. Clan head Hayashi, what will it take for you to lift Hinata's house arrest? If you truly have concerns, then I can stay away from Hinata. I don't want Hinata to lose her right to go outside because of me. Though a child in body, Rinso's sense of responsibility had not diminished. He couldn't accept Hinata losing her right to go outside. Because of him. Hinata, what do you say? Hyuga Hayashi looked at Hinata, a flicker of unnoticed expectation in his eyes. Hyuga Hinata took a step back, her fear of her father's authority making her instinctively retreat. However, when she turned to look at Rinso's still blood-stained arms, a surge of courage from somewhere made her shout loudly. Father, please let me be friends with Rinso-kun. I will train even harder. A trace of surprise flickered in Hyuga Hayashi's eyes, but he continued to apply pressure. Hinata, are you defying my orders? Hyuga Hinata's body trembled, her psychological defenses almost breached. In her mind, Hyuga Hayashi transformed into a giant wave gradually approaching on a calm sea, and she was a precarious lone boat. Just as the lone boat was about to be capsized, Rinso suddenly appeared on it, helping her steady herself and face the wave directly. Yes, Hinata said, gathering her courage. Good. Hyuga Hayashi smiled and spoke to the empty air. From today onwards, restore Hinata's right to go outside, and allow her to make friends freely. Oh, really? Hinata was still a bit confused, not expecting her father's attitude to change so quickly. Not far away, Rinso understood Hyuga Hayashi's true intentions. With Hanabi not yet born and Hinata being the sole heir, her timid personality was definitely a troublesome issue in Hyuga Hayashi's eyes. Now, she dared to speak out in defiance. Even if the reason wasn't ideal, Hyuga Hayashi was surely more pleased than angry. Tap tap. Rinso walked over to Hinata, a smile on his face. Hinata, welcome back. Hinata sniffled, stopping her tears. She looked up at Rinso, who was slightly taller than her, the two of them less than half a meter apart. Rinso, having just finished fighting, radiated heat, which directly wafted over Hinata. So fragrant, Hinata's cheeks visibly reddened, and wisps of white steam rose from her head. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, she collapsed to the ground with a thud. Rinso quickly caught Hinata, supporting her neck and back with his arms, and looked up at Hyuga Hayashi in confusion. This? Hyuga Hayashi gritted his teeth, somewhat understanding his precious daughter's feelings towards Rinso. This was no mere good friend. It was clearly his sweetheart. Go, Hyuga Hayashi said through gritted teeth. Rinso didn't dare to linger. He entrusted the unconscious Hinata to Hyuga Hayashi and quickly walked away. Objective achieved, time to escape. Oh wait, not only was the objective achieved, but he also seemed to have gained an unexpected reward. Hyuga Hinata dropped. Hyuga Bloodline. Pick up? Yes/no. Hyuga Hayashi dropped. Gentle Fist, 8 trigrams palms. Pick up? Yes/no. At the same time, watching Rinso's retreating back, Hyuga Hayashi suddenly said, "Bring me his file. I want to review it carefully again." Chapter 16 Uchiha Shursue's Fall. Shursui Style, Body Flicker Technique. Outside the Hyuga estate, as the matter settled, the onlookers dispersed, and Rinso also needed to treat his wounds, so he left with Tenten and Ino. Watching Rinso and the others leave, Hyuga Hayashi's eyes were calm, revealing no emotion. "Bring me his file. I want to read it carefully again." A branch family ninja, hidden in the shadows and responsible for Hyuga Hayashi's affairs, immediately appeared before Hyuga Hayashi, bowing and respectfully presenting the file. Hyuga Hayashi took it and browsed through it meticulously. He helped Hinata? No wonder Hinata cares so much about him. His friends, coincidentally, are all from prominent clans. He defeated Uchiha Sasuke in Taijutsu. Now he has also defeated Niji. Some of his previous speculations were disproven by the information in front of him. Hyuga Hayashi realized that Mariki Lin Sheng truly had no background. His current strength and connections seemed to be solely due to his exceptional talent. Thinking of this, Hyuga Hayashi glanced at Hyuga Niji, who was slumped on the ground, somewhat questioning his life, and instructed, "Take Niji away to treat his wounds. Also, increase the punishment for that branch family ninja, deducting all his resource provisions for the next year." Yes, the branch family ninja, hearing the command, nodded and immediately knew who Hyuga Hayashi was referring to. It must be the one who insulted Rinso that day and was disrespectful to Hinata. Previously, Hyuga Hayashi's punishment was because of Hyuga Hinata. Now, the additional punishment was because he saw value in Rinso and was signaling his stance. This was not hard to guess. Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi put down his pipe with a joyful expression, muttering to himself, "I thought he just had some talent, but I didn't expect him to be so talented. No wonder Kakashi and Might Guy took notice of him and taught him Kenjutsu and Taijutsu." Cutting off the chakra supply, Hiruzen Sarutobi released the telescope technique, and the image on the crystal ball on the table in front of him disappeared. However, just thinking about such a child appearing in the village, with a clean background, such talent, and leadership ability, Hiruzen Sarutobi couldn't help but feel happy. After the Ninetales attack, Konoha's combat power suffered too many losses. Afterward, even when facing the Hidden Cloud Village, he had to compromise, which led to Hyuga Hizashi's needless death. Later, although Konoha also produced some geniuses, who were they? Uchiha Shursui, Uchiha Itachi, and the Hyuga clan's genius, said to be a once-in-a-century talent, Hyuga Niji. None of them were ordinary people. They were all children of prominent clans, which he did not want to see. Now, Rinso's sudden emergence undoubtedly alleviated his anxiety. Suddenly, Hiruzen Sarutobi thought of something and frowned. His taijutsu talent is truly remarkable, but I wonder about his ninjutsu talent. Forest Fruit Store. Rinso sat on a small stool, while his mother, Hanako, applied medicine to his arm with a pained expression. "How did you get so hurt? That Hyuga Niji is too ruthless for his age." Hanako frowned, feeling a bit of resentment towards Rinso. "If you keep treating your body like this, I won't let you go out randomly anymore." Rinso smiled and didn't reply. His injuries were actually fine. Only the superficial skin was bruised, and he bled a little. With the boost from his Uzumaki bloodline, he had recovered about 70 to 80% immediately upon returning. In contrast, Hyuga Niji's injuries were more severe than his, and he didn't have any special physique to speed up recovery, so he would probably be bettered in for a few days. Creak. The fruit store door was pushed open. Rinso looked towards the doorway, and the smiling young man said, "Rinso, pick some fruit for me." "Sure, Sui-san." Rinso greeted him as usual, then said to his mother, who was applying medicine to him, "My wound is fine. I'll go pick some fruit for sure." Go ahead. With a customer speaking, Hanako had no choice. After all, Uchiha Shursui was also an old customer of their family, so they had to show him that much respect. Moreover, she had also noticed that although Rinso's arm had some bloodstains, there didn't seem to be any major wounds. "Shursui-san, how about some tangerines?" Rinso said, already starting to pick tangerines into a bag. Uchiha Shursui smiled and said, Just pick whatever you think is good. I always trust your recommendations. They've never been wrong before." Rinso nodded and casually chatted. "Shursui-san hasn't been here for a while. Have you been very busy lately?" Shursui sighed helplessly. "I've been quite busy recently, but I should be able to rest for a while now." "Is that so? That's really good news." Rinso kept the chat brief and didn't ask further. However, Shursui suddenly brought up a topic. "I heard about what happened to you." Rinso looked up. Shursui continued. To be able to defeat Hyuganiji, your strength has grown very quickly. Rinso chuckled. It's all right. Shursui-san, at my age, you are probably even stronger than me. After all, your body flickers Shursui. Shursui scratched his head and laughed. It's actually a bit embarrassing. Just a small achievement in body flicker technique, and I was given such a title. Rinso looked speechless. A small achievement? If he hadn't read the original work and known how absurd Shursui's body flicker technique was, he might have actually been fooled. Within a certain range, appearing and disappearing, only showing his physical form when attacking. Someone who didn't know might think he was talking about Obito's Kamui. If it weren't for plot-induced death, Rinso seriously suspected that Shursui was definitely a genius on the same level as Itachi. Seemingly not intending to continue the topic, Shursui suddenly lowered his voice. Actually, little Rinso, if you just learn ninjutsu, your strength can grow a lot more. Rinso's eyes became a little strange, not understanding why Shursui suddenly brought this up. His relationship with Shursui was not distant, but also not particularly close. They were just friends who got along pretty well. Why was Shursui suddenly talking to him about something so deep? Noticing Rinso's confusion, Shursui no longer hid anything and said, "Do you want to learn ninjutsu with me?" Rinso's eyes immediately lit up. Really? Rinso had wanted to learn ninjutsu for a long time, but with no background in his family, he had no way to learn it. He couldn't just ask Shikamaru and the others. He wasn't that shameless. So, slowly he just kept putting it off. Now, although he didn't know why Shursui suddenly wanted to teach him ninjutsu, he certainly wouldn't harm him. "So, are you willing?" Shursui asked again. Rinso was no longer surprised this time and quickly nodded. "I am." Shursui showed an even brighter smile. "That's good. It's almost noon now. I'll come find you this afternoon and take you to learn your first ninjutsu." Saying this, Shursui left with the tangerines, turning his head to wave goodbye to Rinso. Seeing Rinso's incredibly surprised eyes, he felt a sense of satisfaction. Even if he was very mature, he still had moments of such emotional excitement. However, Shursui did not know. Rinso's surprise now was no longer because he could learn ninjutsu, but because Shursui had dropped an SSR level item. Uchiha Shursui dropped. Shursui-style body flicker technique? Pick up? Yes/no. Chapter 17, The Power of the Still Water Style. Body instantaneous movement technique, physical activation. Body flicker technique is a D-rank ninjutsu. Its essence is simply to instantly activate the body with chakra to achieve high-speed movement. Therefore, everyone can develop their own unique body flicker technique based on their own ideas, attributes, and even combat skills. Even the lightning release chakra mode of the Hidden Cloud Village, at its core, was developed by referencing the principles of the body flicker technique, as both involve body activation. And in Rinso's eyes, Shursui-style body flicker technique is absolutely one of the top 3 in the entire ninja world. The reason it's not number 1 is simply because Rinso believes that the Flying Thunder God technique and the Lightning Release Chakra mode should also be broadly considered as types of body flicker technique. This demonstrates the power of Shursui-style body flicker technique. Through special techniques, the body activation lasts longer, allowing for extremely fast movement over a period so fast that dozens of visible afterimages appear. Because each afterimage is left behind by the user, even Sensor Ninja cannot distinguish which is fake and which is real. Only when attacking, when Shursui stops leaving afterimages in other places, can people distinguish him. But by then, it's already too late to guard against him. This is why Shursui was able to turn the body flicker technique, which almost all ninja know, into his exclusive moniker. Shursui's body flicker technique, its core, is actually his special technique for enhancing body activation. This technique, when used in other areas besides the body flicker technique, also has many applications. As Rinso reviewed Shursui's body flicker technique in his mind, he suddenly understood why Shursui had such a resounding reputation at such a young age. When he made a name for himself, Shursui was not even 10 years old. At such a young age, his body hadn't fully developed. So where did he get such strong physical conditioning to achieve high-speed movement? In fact, it was because Shursui had his own unique technique for body activation, allowing him to maintain a state of body activation for a long time. Unlike other body flicker techniques, which can only maintain brief body activation and thus only allow for high-speed movement for a very short time. Speaking of which, Shursui's body activation technique is somewhat similar to the lightning release chakra mode. Rinso suspected that if Shursui had enough energy and time, he might not be unable to develop a ninjutsu similar to the lightning release chakra mode himself. Thinking of this, Rinso gained a deeper understanding of this character, who didn't have much screen time in the original work. To be called a genius is truly not an exaggeration. The technique for body activation can be deeply researched. What Shursui didn't achieve, with my ninjutsu talent, it's not impossible to develop a systematic ninjutsu. Thinking of this, Rinso glanced at the large trees next to his secret base. 3 of them had been snapped in half. There's no doubt, these were his achievements. Under body activation, his physical condition had improved significantly. Rinso himself felt that he was probably at the level of a normal chunin. Once his body grows more and his muscles increase, the amplification will likely be even more exaggerated. Speaking of which, what level is my current strength at? Rinso was momentarily lost in thought, then decided to take a good inventory. Ninjutsu, Taijutsu, and Jinjutsu. In terms of ninjutsu, he currently only knows Shadow Clone Jutsu, Body Flicker Technique, and Summoning Jutsu, which is quite peculiar. He already knows 3 intermediate difficulty ninjutsu, yet he doesn't even know 2 of the most basic 3 basic jutsu. It can only be said that he is stronger than a genin, but only marginally. In terms of taijutsu, it is his strongest area. He has super strong taijutsu fundamentals trained by Kakashi and Might Guy, and he knows the Konoha whirlwind technique. In addition, his accumulated resistance to blows and recovery ability, derived from various talents and bloodlines, is a major advantage. Shursui's body activation technique can further elevate all aspects of his physical condition by another level. It can be said that he is completely on par with a chunin. Even, Rinso looked towards the stream, veins bulging around his eyes, and his deep, star-like pupils instantly turned white. Byakugan. After choosing to merge with the Hyuga bloodline that dropped from Hinata, Rinso immediately activated the Byakugan. This talent, if placed in the Hyuga clan, would absolutely be that of a once-in-a-millennium genius, surpassing even the 100-year genius Hyuganiji. However, Rinso had no intention of exposing his Byakugan to the people of the Hyuga clan. Otherwise, while he might be hailed as a rising star, it's more likely he would be branded with the cage bird seal and treated as a beast of burden for life. Fortunately, the Hyuga bloodline within him was not dominant, which meant his eyes were not white in their normal state, only turning white when the veins bulged. This was also the answer Rinso received after asking the system. Otherwise, he wouldn't have easily merged with the Hyuga bloodline. Getting back to the main topic, with the Byakugan awakened, Rinso could also maximize the effect of the Gentle Fist 8 trigrams palms that dropped from Hyuga Hayashi. Therefore, his taijutsu strength, in Byakugan mode, even far surpasses a chunin. He might even be able to contend with a jonin, and it can definitely be used as a trump card. Finally, in terms of Jinjutsu, this is his complete weakness. Let alone using Jinjutsu, he hasn't even practiced the ability to dispel Jinjutsu by disrupting chakra. Without even talking about higher levels, a chunin or even a genin who knows 1 or 2 Jinjutsu could instantly kill him. If I encounter a taijutsu ninja, even a strong one among chunin, I can put up a fight. If I encounter a ninjutsu specialist, it will be a bit difficult, but if a chunin gets close to me, I still have a chance to win. If I encounter a Jinjutsu ninja, even a genin could trip me up. So, my current strength is somewhere between genin and chunin. Rinso had made an initial assessment of himself. He looked up at the sky. The sun was bright. Time to go home for dinner. This afternoon, I'll see if I can learn a couple of Jinjutsu from Shursui. I wonder what my ninjutsu talent is like. I hope it's not too bad. Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked at Shursui, who was kneeling on one knee before him, and smiled, telling him to stand up. Get up. Uchiha Shursui stood up, his face under the mask calm. How is the progress? Hiruzen Sarutobi asked. Uchiha Shursui slowly spoke. I've already told Rinso. I'll take him to learn ninjutsu this afternoon, and Rinso has agreed. After thinking for a moment, he added, Hokage-sama, to test Rinso's ninjutsu talent. Which ninjutsu should I teach him? Hiruzen Sarutobi pondered for a moment before saying, the basic 3 basic jutsu, as well as some ninjutsu with limited destructive power. You can decide for yourself if you can teach them. Shursui nodded. Yes. All right, you may go then, Hiruzen Sarutobi said. Just as Shursui was about to leave, he suddenly turned and looked towards the office door. Hiruzen Sarutobi also sensed it, frowning slightly. Shursui, you go first, Hiruzen Sarutobi said, a hint of dismissal in his tone. Shursui didn't waste words and left immediately. And it was less than 3 seconds after Shursui left. Bang! Outside the door, Danzo Shimura rudely pushed the door open and, upon entering, immediately said to Hiruzen Sarutobi, Hiruzen, that child named Mariki Lin Sheng, hand him over to my route for training. Chapter 18 Your Regret, My Shadow. Hiruzen, that child named Mariki Lin Sheng, hand him over to my route for training. As Danzo Shimura finished speaking, Hiruzen Sarutobi's expression immediately turned cold. Rinso-kun has only gained recognition less than half a day ago, and you're already eyeing him? Bang! Hiruzen Sarutobi slammed the table. Danzo, Aren't you reaching too far with your hands? Seeing Hiruzen Sarutobi's angry expression, Danzo Shimura was not flustered in the slightest. He didn't answer directly, but instead stated logically, Mariki Lin Shang's potential can only be fully developed if he is personally taught by a powerful ninja. Currently in Konoha, my strength is among the best. If he comes to my route, I will personally train him and unearth all his potential. That is the optimal solution for Konoha. Hiruzen, can you find a more suitable teacher than me? Hiruzen Sarutobi frowned and denied. It's impossible for him to be trained by you. Why? Hiruzen, can you find someone stronger than me who can teach Rinso? Danzo Shimura asked, full of dissatisfaction. Currently, in Konoha, there are barely a handful of Kaga-level experts. Hyuga Hayashi, Uchiha Fugaku, and Uchiha Shursui, although they are Kaga-level experts, are all from major clans. Having them teach Mariki Lin Shang would only add unstable factors. Besides these three, the only Kaga-level experts left are him and Hiruzen Sarutobi. Hiruzen Sarutobi has already taken on disciples, and he is too busy with various daily chores. Counting it all, Danzo Shimura is the most suitable candidate to train Rinso. Of course, all of this is under the premise that Danzo Shimura truly only wants to train him. Hiruzen Sarutobi glared at Danzo, warning, Danzo, don't think I don't know what you do behind the scenes. I will not hand Rinso over to you, so you should give up that idea early. Seeing that Hiruzen Sarutobi still wouldn't budge, Danzo Shimura, who knew his old friend's personality well, understood. This time, he wouldn't be able to achieve his goal. Danzo Shimura's facial muscles twitched slightly, and he said angrily, Hiruzen, you will regret this. Danzo, I am the Hokage. Hiruzen Sarutobi remained firm. Bang! Danzo Shimura didn't say another word and slammed the door as he left. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat back down in his chair and sighed with a sense of powerlessness. Alas, I didn't expect Danzo to have extended his reach this far, not even sparing children. As he spoke, a determined glint flashed in Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyes. It seems some changes need to be made. Commercial Street, outside the Force Fruit store. Rinso, who had just returned from the secret base and finished lunch, heard a knock on the shop door. Knock, knock, knock. A gentle knocking sound rang out, and Rinso got up to open the door. Outside the door was not Shursui, who had promised to come in the afternoon, but several little sprouts. Rinso-kun. Hinata shyly hid behind Ino and Tintin, only revealing her small head, but she was the first to call out. You're awake, are you alright? Rinso asked with concern. Rinso-kun, I'm fine. Hinata inexplicably blushed, as bashful as a flower bud. Big brother Rinso, let's go play together this afternoon. Naruto invited. Yeah, it's been a long time since we played together. Tintin said expectantly. Come with us. Ino pulled Rinso's arm, pouting. Rinso's expression was slightly hesitant, but then he shook his head. Not today, I think. Why? Is your injury not healed yet? Ino asked confused. Injury? Hinata immediately became worried, and her mind instantly recalled Rinso's bleeding wound at the mansion gate. Rinso-kun. Hinata squeezed past Tintin and Ino, came in front of Rinso, and directly pulled up Rinso's sleeve to check the wound on his arm. Hinata made a sound of confusion, looked closely, and found no wound at all. Feeling the softness of Hinata's small hand on his arm, Rinso gently pushed it away and smiled. Why are you so concerned about me? Hinata's face instantly turned crimson, and white steam seemed to rise from her head. Hinata squatted on the ground, drawing circles with her finger at a loss for what to do. Seeing this, Rinso stopped teasing Hinata and proactively stated the reason for not going to play. Right now, I don't have enough time. Most of my day is spent on taijutsu training, and recently I'm even starting ninjutsu studies, so not only now, but I probably won't have much time in the future either. Rinso's tone was a bit helpless, but he had no intention of changing his plans. For an ordinary person like him, with no background, to be noticed by Might Guy and Shursui was absolutely incredibly lucky. If he didn't seize the opportunity now, he would regret it later when it was too late. No time in the future, either. Tintin's mouth was slightly agape, somewhat unable to accept it. Ino bit her lip, shaking Rinso's arm. No, if you're not there in the future, it won't be any fun at all. No. Hinata stood up, shaking her head pitifully. Big brother Rinso. Naruto's face was full of reluctance. Ugh, so troublesome. If you're not around, I've been getting headaches these past few days. Shikamaru was too embarrassed to say it directly, hinting at his unwillingness in a roundabout way. Seeing everyone trying to make him stay, Rinso felt a warmth in his heart. Although he hadn't intended to make close friends, he had still built good relationships. If you don't want to be separated, why don't you all come train with me? A voice with a gentle smile suddenly rang out beside them. Looking in the direction of the voice, Shui, who had arrived at some unknown time, was smiling at them. Shui-san. Rinso nodded, acknowledging him. The others followed suit. Shui-san. Hello, everyone. Shui's smile widened. Train together? Naruto asked, scratching his head in confusion. Shui gently explained. I'm going to teach Rinso ninjutsu. Do you all want to come along? I can also teach you some other things. I suppose I know a little about various aspects. Really? Then I want to go, Naruto said excitedly. In his opinion, it was good enough if friends could be together, whether it was playing or training. What about you all? Shui looked at the others and asked. Ino and Tintin hesitated slightly, seemingly finding the idea of going to train a bit boring and hard, but when they thought that they might not have any time to spend with Rinso in the future, they still made up their minds. Go, Tintin said firmly. Me too, Ino followed closely. You all sigh. Shikamaru sighed helplessly, but he also didn't want to go against the group, so he simply nodded in agreement. Choji, eating snacks, looked indifferent. As for Sakura, seeing that everyone else agreed, and not wanting to be out of place, she also agreed. Shui said, all right, then come train with me. Wait a minute. Rinso suddenly spoke. What is it? I still need to visit an old lady. Can you all wait here for a bit? Rinso apologized. No problem, you go ahead. Everyone expressed understanding. Rinso didn't waste time, walked into the fruit store, picked out some fruits, packed them up, and then jogged away. Chapter 19, The Thousand Hands Bloodline. Lin Sheng's own talent for learning ninjutsu. Miho's tailor shop. Knock, knock, knock. Rinso lightly knocked on the door, then waited, holding some fruit. Inside the tailor shop, footsteps approached from a distance. With a creak, the door opened from the inside. As soon as Miho opened the door, she immediately looked down, smiling as usual. Ah, little Rinso, come in quickly. Rinso walked into the tailor shop without any awkwardness, placed the fruit on the table, and glanced at the sewing machine. Grandma Miho, are you making clothes again? Remember to protect your eyes, Rinso said with concern. Miho slowly sat back down at the sewing machine and smiled faintly. Don't worry with you, my boy. Coming to see this old woman every day, I'll definitely protect my eyes so I can watch you grow up slowly. Rinso chuckled. Then Grandma Miho must keep her word. Little Rinso, have you had lunch? This old woman hasn't eaten yet. Would you like to join me for a bite? Miho invited. I've already eaten, Rinso replied. Miho said, is that so? Then you'll have to wait until this old woman finishes eating, and then I'll tell you stories from the past. Rinso smiled and shook his head. No, Grandma Miho, I'm going to learn ninjutsu with someone this afternoon, so I won't have time to listen to your stories. That's why I came to tell you. Learning ninjutsu? That's good news. Little Rinso, your ninjutsu talent must be excellent, Miho affirmed. Then I'll take Grandma Miho's auspicious words. Rinso smiled and turned to leave. Miho suddenly spoke up. Wait a moment. What is it, Grandma Miho? Rinso immediately stopped. Miho slowly stood up, took the clothes from the sewing machine, and handed them to Rinso. Rinso looked at the clothes handmade by Miho in his hands, a little dazed. Grandma Miho, this is? Miho gently patted Rinso's shoulder. I made them for you. Consider it a small token of my appreciation for you coming to see me every day for so long. Don't dislike them, little Rinso. A hint of emotion flashed in Rinso's eyes, and he quickly shook his head. Of course I won't dislike them. I received your thoughtfulness. That's good then, Miho smiled. Afterward, she watched Rinso leave. She didn't know that Rinso truly felt her sincerity. In every aspect, Miho dropped. Bloodline. Pick up, yes/no. Rinso-kun's complexion is so rosy. Tintin poked her head out, looking at the returning Rinso with confusion. It is. He looks very energetic. Ino nodded in agreement. Rinso-kun, Hinata, still blushing, secretly stared at him. I used some energy running back and forth, so my body naturally warmed up, Rinso said perfunctorily. All right. Why are you all concerned about my complexion now? Let's ask Shui-san where he's taking everyone to train. Rinso changed the subject and looked at Shui. Shui smiled and picked up the conversation. In the forest. I have a rather private training ground. I'll take you all there. Great. Let's go then. Rinso showed curiosity, secretly sighing in relief. Mainly, he hadn't expected that merging with the bloodline could bring such obvious changes to him. He had already asked the system and received an answer that there were no side effects. As it turned out, there were indeed no side effects. But after merging with the bloodline, he, who was already strong and full of vitality, was even more overly nourished. With the bloodline and Uzumaki Bloodline merging into one, Rinso felt that his current body was very close to a god and very far from human. His entire being felt incredibly full, and he didn't even pant after jogging all the way back. With the bloodlines of two human-tailed beasts merged, I wonder what level my current chakra reserves are, Rinso mused. Speaking of which, ever since he obtained the Uzumaki Bloodline, his difficulty in refining chakra had been resolved. Moreover, the amount of chakra he could refine had significantly increased. Now that he had obtained the Senju Bloodline, Rinso felt that the amount of chakra in his body wasn't simply doubled, but rather 1 plus 1 was greater than 2. If the chakra reserves of peak Naruto and peak Hashirama were comparable to a tailed beast, then he, in the future, might even surpass a tailed beast. Time flew by. While Rinso was lost in thought, he unknowingly arrived at an open space in the forest with everyone, led by Shui. The open space wasn't large, but it was enough for Rinso and the others to move freely. And, at a glance, various training equipment was available, for shuriken, for kunai, for taijutsu. Shui stopped in the center of the clearing, turned around, and said to Rinso and the others, "Since I said I'd teach you, I'll start by teaching you the 3 basic jutsu. That way, you'll save a lot of effort when you enter the Ninja Academy. Next, I'll teach you one of the 3 basic jutsu, the transformation jutsu." Next, under the gaze of Rinso and the others, Shui began his teaching. Seriously, are geniuses just not good at teaching people? What does just do it like this and that and it'll work even mean? Tintin complained with a frustrated face. Her close friend, Ino, nodded in strong agreement. A minute ago, Shui taught them the transformation jutsu, but he only demonstrated the hand seal once and then looked at them expectantly, hoping they would learn it. Are you kidding? Forget learning it. Naruto among them hadn't even memorized the hand seal yet. Could you please demonstrate it a few more times? If you only demonstrate it once, how could anyone possibly learn it? Shikamaru complained helplessly. Transformation jutsu. Rinso suddenly spoke, forming the hand seal for the transformation jutsu, and chakra flowed within his body. He completely transformed into a different appearance. Shui, Kuriko, speak. The atmosphere in the training ground was somewhat quiet. Rinso looked at everyone, scratching his head with a smile. I didn't expect to learn it in one go. This was the truth. Being able to learn the transformation jutsu in one go indeed surprised Rinso. After all, before this, he hadn't picked up any ninjutsu learning talent from anyone. Therefore, he had no baseline for his ninjutsu learning talent. Now it seemed his ninjutsu learning talent was quite good. Come, I'll continue to teach you new ninjutsu. Shusui's eyes lit up, feeling a bit excited. Ever since Uchiha Itachi grew stronger and stronger, the things he could teach became fewer and fewer. He hadn't experienced the thrill of teaching a genius in a long time. Now, encountering Rinso, this genius, whether for the mission assigned by the 3rd Hokage or for himself, he had to teach him well. 10 minutes later, Shikamaru and the others looked at Rinso in the clearing as if he were a monster. 10 minutes. Only 10 minutes. From the transformation jutsu to the clone jutsu, and finally to the substitution jutsu. Shui only demonstrated each one once, and Rinso could instantly replicate and use them. He wasn't even pretending anymore, was he? Chapter 20: The Surprise, brought by Lin Sheng. Encountering being stalked. Hokage-sama, that's how it is. Rinso's ninjutsu talent seems to be no less than his taijutsu talent. So in just one afternoon, I've already taught Rinso the 3 basic jutsu and body flicker technique, and he has mastered them all. Besides that, Rinso proactively asked me about Jinjutsu, and after some thought, I taught him the D-rank ninjutsu, demonic illusion, hell viewing technique. In the Hokage's office, Uchiha Shui calmly reported the general details of teaching Rinso ninjutsu to Hiruzen Sarutobi. He then quietly awaited a response. A hint of barely perceptible surprise flashed in Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyes as he pressed. There's no need to mention the 3 basic jutsu, but the body flicker technique and demonic illusion, hell viewing technique, are both D-rank ninjutsu, with moderate learning difficulty. Has he mastered those as well? Beneath his fox mask, Shui recalled briefly and replied, Rinso hasn't mastered the demonic illusion, hell viewing technique yet, but he has grasped the knack of it. He should master it soon. But the body flicker technique. Shusui's voice carried a hint of strangeness. What about the body flicker technique? Is Rinso making slow progress with this ninjutsu? Hiruzen Sarutobi wondered. Logically, the main difficulty of the body flicker technique lies in activating the body, which shouldn't be difficult for him. Seeing Hiruzen Sarutobi's guess, Shui quickly explained, No, Hokage-sama, you've misunderstood. Rinso's progress in learning the body flicker technique isn't slow at all. In fact, it's astonishingly fast. Oh, Hiruzen Sarutobi's interest was piqued. Uchiha Shui was one of the top geniuses. At a young age, he was already one of the village's top combatants, with extremely strong learning abilities. For Shui to use the word astonishing, it showed that Rinso's progress with the body flicker technique was truly exceptional. Shui recalled the scene of teaching Rinso the body flicker technique at the training ground, his voice subconsciously carrying a hint of surprise. When I was teaching Rinso the body flicker technique, I demonstrated it once, and Rinso immediately fully grasped the body flicker technique, even performing it quite skillfully. I can say that even among the Jonin of the village, I haven't seen such a proficient body flicker technique. Surpassed a Jonin. Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyebrows shot up in surprise. A Jonin, they were the mainstays of a village, absolute elites anywhere in the ninja world. The body flicker technique, moreover, was a ninjutsu that everyone had to master proficiently. It could be said that every Jonin's proficiency with the body flicker technique was frighteningly high. And Rinso, having just mastered it for the first time, had already surpassed a Jonin. In an instant, the surprise in Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyes was almost impossible to conceal. Both ninjutsu and taijutsu were outstanding, his background was clean, and he possessed leadership qualities. Mariki Linsheng was simply born to be a Hokage. If he could be nurtured, he would definitely be the next Minato Namikaze. A sense of urgency inexplicably arose in Hiruzen Sarutobi's heart, wanting to quickly cultivate Mariki Linsheng. That way, he could relinquish the burden of Hokage sooner and enjoy his retirement. This wretched position, below he had to deal with trivial matters. In the middle he faced the checks and balances of Danzo and the two elders, as well as the ambitions of various clans, and above he had to cautiously beg the daimyo for village funds every day. He truly didn't want to hold this position for another day. Thinking of this, Hiruzen Sarutobi said to Shui, "From now on, I permit you to teach Rinso all ninjutsu. As long as they are not forbidden jutsu, anything is fine." Shui's heart tightened, surprised that Rinso was being taken so seriously. But on his lips, he still calmly responded, "Yes." After Shui left, Hiruzen Sarutobi, puffing on his pipe, muttered to himself, "The clans will surely notice my emphasis on Rinso. Letting Shui teach him is also a gesture to ease relations with the Uchiha clan. I hope they will behave themselves." Night. The full moon hung high. Leaving the training ground in the forest, Rinso walked on a deserted path, practicing hand signs with both hands. This way of circulating chakra seems right. The demonic illusion, hell viewing technique, although only a D-rank ninjutsu, isn't something that can be mastered in an instant. The entire afternoon was spent practicing it. I should have just gotten the hang of it now. Recalling the entire afternoon, he had not only mastered the 3 basic jutsu, but also learned the body flicker technique, so now he had enough reason to use them publicly. In terms of jinjutsu, he had just gotten the hang of the demonic illusion, hell viewing technique, and only needed to slowly become proficient with it. Moreover, he had asked Shui for some tips on dispelling jinjutsu, and had benefited greatly. In summary, he had gained a lot. As for Naruto and the others, they said they would train together, but then slowly started playing hide-and-seek and tag next to the training ground. They might not have gained much, but they certainly had fun. Forget it, at such a young age, it's normal to want to play. I pursue strength because I know about the big events in the future, but they don't know. Rinso smiled and had no intention of forcing others to train with him. Rustle, rustle. The sound of dry leaves being crushed came from behind him. Rinso's ears twitched, and his pace quickened. However, before he could go far, a figure blocked his path. "Stand still." A voice came from the figure, extremely cold. Rinso looked up and saw a face wearing a fox mask. Umbu? This thought popped into Rinso's mind. Then he immediately dismissed it. No, it wouldn't be Umbu. Through the holes in the mask, he could see the resentful eyes beneath it. Who would have such resentful eyes towards him? Something's not right. A bad premonition arose in Rinso's heart. Rinso cautiously asked, "What do you want?" The ninja in front of him stared coldly at Rinso, his eyes filled with immense resentment. "You don't deserve to know." With that, he unleashed a full-strength palm strike, aimed at Rinso's chest without holding back. Rinso's pupils constricted. His body, already prepared, immediately began to retreat, narrowly dodging the attack. At this point, there was no need to ask. It didn't matter who was under the mask, or if the person in front of him was truly Umbu. Rinso only knew that the person in front of him was an enemy. This kind of punching power, it's either a Chunin proficient in taijutsu, or a Jonin. Rinso was startled and immediately became fully alert. "What are you doing?" "No, don't kill me." Rinso feigned an extremely frightened expression. "Kill you? I'm just going to make you lose consciousness. If you cooperate, nothing bad will happen to you," the masked ninja said. With the upper hand in strength, his body subtly relaxed. Rinso was tempted, just about to seize this opening, but his powerful combat talent gave him a warning. "Don't attack." Forcibly suppressing the urge to attack, Rinso continued to act scared, constantly retreating. His sharp eyes noticed that while the masked ninja appeared to relax his guard, one hand was hidden behind his back, as if waiting for Rinso to make a move, to strike preemptively. Chapter 21 Counterattack. A crazy move. His brain was working at full speed. Rinso understood that his paper strength was inferior to the person in front of him, but he wasn't entirely without a chance. Because no matter who the visitor was, their judgment of him would definitely not be accurate. The powerful recovery ability and chakra brought by the bloodline within him were things he hadn't revealed to anyone. It was highly unlikely that the person in front of him would know. Thinking this way, under the guidance of his combat talent, Rinso made the optimal choice. Konoha Whirlwind. Rinso shouted, slightly raising his calf. Immediately, the masked ninja's hand, holding a kunai, appeared from behind him and swung forward. However, he didn't expect that Rinso had shouted and raised his calf, but hadn't actually kicked it out. This caused the masked ninja to swing at nothing. I guessed right. His laxness was faked. He's been in a state of extreme focus. Otherwise, this move wouldn't have tricked him into attacking, Rinso judged in his heart. The thoughts in his mind lasted only a moment. In reality, Rinso had already taken advantage of the masked ninja's swing to instantly enter body activation state, then threw a punch. Bang! Under the enhancement of body activation, Rinso's punch was extremely powerful and fast. However, it failed to truly hit, being blocked by the masked ninja's elbow. Rinso was startled, not expecting that his unexpected punch would still be blocked. You're asking for death. The masked ninja was surprised. Then came the anger of almost being killed. Whoosh! The kunai in his hand was like a short sword, stabbing towards Rinso. As the kunai came, Rinso dared not be careless and immediately activated his Byakugan. Blue veins bulged around his eyes, and his perception instantly increased by a notch. The sharp blade of the kunai missed Rinso's arm, making a whoosh-whoosh sound through the air. Byakugan! The masked ninja exclaimed in astonishment, then suddenly became furiously angry. So that's it. You're Hyuga Hayashi's illegitimate son? No wonder he would. Rinso frowned slightly, not expecting that the other party's first thought would be this. His keen mind began to work, and with a flash of inspiration, Rinso suddenly spoke, You're that branch family ninja. The masked ninja's body stiffened. He didn't speak, but the movement of his kunai quickened a bit. A hint of understanding flashed in Rinso's eyes, then turned ruthless. You want my life? Then come and take it. Boom! Rinso's immense chakra erupted instantly. Gentle fist, 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Under the masked ninja's horrified gaze, Rinso's hands quickly jabbed out, and with the Byakugan's enhancement, directly struck his body's chakra points. Ah! The masked ninja let out a miserable cry. With his chakra points struck, chakra circulation became difficult. Rinso's sudden display of gentle fist undoubtedly caught him off guard. Damn it! The masked ninja dared not fight further and turned to leave. Seeing this, Rinso immediately gave chase. He understood the principle of not pursuing a cornered enemy, but having exposed his Byakugan, he couldn't let this masked ninja escape. He couldn't afford to gamble. Body activation. He disregarded the damage to his body. Rinso just desperately poured chakra into his body. How can this be? The fleeing masked ninja looked back and saw that Rinso had actually caught up and was slowly closing the distance, his heart sinking. You forced my hand. A look of madness flashed in the masked ninja's eyes. He stopped, directly pulling an exploding tag from his Hwai. Let's die together. Trading my life for a genius like you, it's worth it. With the infusion of chakra, the exploding tag in the masked ninja's hand instantly exploded. Rinso's reaction speed was extremely fast. The moment he saw the exploding tag, he immediately braked. However, the inertia of full-speed pursuit prevented him from immediately changing direction and retreating. Facing the exploding tag, he could only raise his arms to block. Boom! With a loud bang, under the intense firelight, Rinso's arms were blasted so deeply that bone was visible, his chest cavity was blown open, and even his ribs and internal organs could be seen. As for the masked ninja, half of his jaw and throat were directly blown off, and he died instantly. The fox mask fell off in the explosion, revealing the face beneath. Rinso recognized that face. When he and Hinata first met, and he escorted Hinata home, it was this person who mocked him, and later, for disrespecting Hinata, he was punished by the Hyuga clan. Rinso hadn't expected him to be so extreme, to ruthlessly try to kill him over such a small matter, even at the cost of dying together. And he had almost succeeded. The reason it was almost was that he possessed the Uzumaki Bloodline and Senju Bloodline, 2 terrifying bloodlines that kept him alive. If not for the terrifying vitality brought by these 2 great bloodlines, he would definitely be lying on the ground, gasping his last breath and meeting the king of hell, just like the masked ninja. His consciousness became somewhat blurry. Rinso shook his head, not daring to relax his guard. He wasn't necessarily safe now. He struggled to his feet and walked to the corpse. Rinso pried open his tongue. On his tongue, the black sealing technique mark was extremely conspicuous. So that's how it is? Rinso wasn't surprised. After all, Umbu's fox masks were easy to come by. To conceal identity, an ordinary mask would suffice. So, there must be a reason why the masked ninja wore a fox mask. If root ninja had to wear fox masks, then it wouldn't be hard to understand. Moreover, the masked ninja wasn't initially aiming directly for his life. This suggested that he wanted to capture him alive. This was most likely Danzo's order. It was only when Rinso's strength proved unexpectedly powerful, making the masked ninja realize he couldn't capture him alive, that he became intent on killing. Upon Rinso murmured in his heart. He understood that Danzo would not truly take in a Hyuga branch family ninja. He was most likely treated as a pawn, meaning that no matter the outcome, this person would die. Was it because for some reason he couldn't use his other subordinates, so he took in this pawn to target me? Rinso pondered for a moment, thinking that he had already been targeted by Danzo, and felt a surge of pressure. After a brief thought, Rinso gritted his teeth. I must find a way. Soon, Rinso had an idea. He dragged the masked ninja's corpse towards Konoha's busiest and most prosperous street. What is this? Whose child is this? Why is he dragging corpse? How terrifying. Someone come and stop him. Blood. So much blood. Quick, go find a military police force. Where is he going? Rinso, with his consciousness hazy, dragged the masked ninja's corpse through the street, leaving a long, bloody trail on the ground, extremely gruesome. On both sides of the street, many people who witnessed this scene began to discuss. Some who couldn't stomach such a sight directly vomited. No one dared to approach or speak, nor did anyone dare to stop Rinso's progress. But they all, by unspoken agreement, chose to follow Rinso, wanting to see where Rinso was going with the corpse and what he intended to do. After a while, as more and more villagers gathered behind him, under their puzzled gazes, Rinso finally stopped. His face was so covered in blood that it was difficult for Rinso to even open his eyes. But a tiny slit in his opened eyes still allowed Rinso to confirm the name of the mansion before him. Hyuga. Chapter 22. Lin Shung's powerful connections and the bewildered Hayashi Hyuga. Inside the Hyuga estate. Outside Hyuga Hayashi's residence. A branch family ninja suddenly appeared, anxiously shouting. Clan head, something has happened. Please come out and take charge. Inside, Hyuga Hayashi's eyes flashed with impatience, but his responsibility as clan head made him quickly compose himself and walk out. What is it? Hyuga Hayashi asked the branch family ninja kneeling in the courtyard outside his house. The branch family ninja's expression was serious as he said, Lord Clan Head, outside the estate. As the branch family ninja explained the situation, Hyuga Hayashi's eyes widened, filled with disbelief. Are you saying that Rinso is standing outside the estate, dragging the corpse of a clan ninja? Hyuga Hayashi confirmed, incredulous. Yes, the branch family ninja affirmed. Hyuga Hayashi immediately became incredibly alert and rushed towards the entrance of the Hyuga estate. In his haste, he didn't notice Hinata, who had peeked out at some point, muttering, Rinso-kun, outside the Hyuga estate. As time passed, more and more people gathered outside the Hyuga estate. Curious villagers, ninjas from the village, and the belated Uchiha military police force. What happened? 3 Uchiha military police force members appeared. The leader, a young man in his 20s, with a 2-tomo Sharingan, looked at Rinso. Rinso's face was pale. Seeing that the military police force had finally arrived, he spoke in a weak voice. The Hyuga clan wants to kill me. What? The leading military police force captain asked, puzzled. Rinso didn't answer with words, but walked to the corpse and pulled back its eyelids. Underneath, a pure white eyeball was exposed to everyone. Although it was much dimmer compared to a normal Hyuga clansman's eyes, having lost its inherent spirit, everyone recognized that this pure white pupil was definitely a Byakugan. A Byakugan? It's indeed a ninja from the Hyuga clan. Who killed him? And what do you mean by he wanted to kill you? Looking at the obvious little brat who hadn't even attended the ninja academy, the military police force captain clearly didn't believe that Rinso had killed the Hyuga clan ninja. His consciousness gradually fading, Rinso shook his head, about to explain, when he heard shouts from not far away. Rinso-kun, big brother Rinso. Rinso. The anxious shouts made Rinso even more disoriented. He looked in the direction of the voices, and despite his blood-stained eyes, he recognized several people immediately. Tenten, Ino, Naruto, Shikamaru, Choji, Sakura, Lee, Sasuke. Having received the news from who knows where, all of Rinso's friends rushed over. Naruto even came in his pajamas, wearing slippers. The others, too, all had sweat on their faces, clearly having run to get there. Beside them, their respective guardians were also present. Tenen's parents, Ino's parents, Shikamaru's father, Choji's father, Sakura's parents, Lee's mastermind guy, and Kakashi, Sasuke's older brother Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Shisui. It could be said that almost everyone present was Rinso's entire network in Konoha. Rinso. Kakashi approached Rinso, feeling Rinso's faint aura, his face grim. Shisui also walked over, his expression calm, but with an unsuppressible chill in his eyes. Might Guy put away his signature smile, revealing a serious and angry expression. Creak. The gates of the Hyuga estate were pushed open. With branch family ninjas clearing the way, Hyuga Hayashi stepped out. His Byakugan swept over the scene outside, and Hyuga Hayashi felt his temples throb. At the outermost perimeter, a large crowd of Konoha villagers looked at him with strange eyes, their whispered discussions completely undisguised. Is this the Hyuga clan, hailed as Konoha's foremost clan? They actually sent someone to assassinate a child. Exactly. I remember this child. He's the genius who defeated Uchiha Sasuke and Hyuga Neji. He defeated Hyuga Neji? Is it because their own genius was defeated that the Hyuga clan cruelly decided to assassinate a child less than 5 years old? What foremost clan? They're practically inhumane. Hyuga Hayashi? Assassination? What assassination? He didn't even know he had sent someone to assassinate Rinso. What were these people talking about? Father, how could this be? Why? Hinata's terrified voice came from behind Hyuga Hayashi, making Hyuga Hayashi's already stressed heart almost stop. Hyuga Hayashi stiffly turned around, Hinata's incredulous gaze deeply etched into his mind. Hinata shook her head in disbelief, her peripheral vision suddenly catching sight of Rinso at the estate entrance, her eyes instantly turning red. Rinso-kun. The shy Hinata didn't hesitate at all, completely ignoring the surrounding villagers, and rushed out without a second thought. Running to Rinso, Hinata's tears fell one by one in distress. Rinso-kun, so badly hurt, sob. Hinata sobbed as if feeling his pain. She reached out, wanting to touch Rinso, but saw Rinso shake his head. Don't touch me, I'm dirty. Rinso forced a smile. Asterisk sob, asterisk. Rinso-kun. Hinata cried even harder. Seeing this, Tintin and the others also gathered around, keeping some distance from Rinso. It wasn't that they found Rinso dirty, but that they were afraid their movements might worsen Rinso's condition. Where are the medical ninjas? Haven't they arrived yet? Kakashi asked with a frown. Shisui replied. They should be here soon. Don't touch Rinso now, to avoid causing secondary injuries. Kakashi nodded, his brows furrowed so deeply they could kill a fly. He and Rinso hadn't known each other long, but Rinso was actually very close to him, one of the few people he, a reclusive person, cared about. After all, Tintin learned taijutsu and kenjutsu from him, so he was half Rinso's teacher. And now, seeing Rinso assassinated and so severely injured, Kakashi's mood immediately became heavy. He looked up at Hyuga Hayashi, speaking coldly. Clan head Hayashi, do you not intend to give an explanation? Hyuga Hayashi. Filled with doubt, Hyuga Hayashi had no intention of admitting to this assassination and directly shook his head, saying, this assassination was not arranged by me. Then can the Byakugan be faked? Isn't the Hyuga clan's Byakugan said to absolutely never fall into outside hands? Kakashi's voice grew a few shades louder, becoming aggressive. Hyuga Hayashi's expression began to turn hostile. He, the esteemed clan head of the Hyuga clan, even Hiruzen Sarutobi, wouldn't speak to him like that. Even if Kakashi was a pillar of the village, an elite jonin, he still had no right to question him. Jonin Kakashi, mind your attitude. Hyuga Hayashi snapped angrily. Kakashi clenched his fist, his face cold. The atmosphere became somewhat tense. Outside the gathered crowd, Senjumiho, leaning on a cane, slowly emerged. Clan head Hayashi, quite the display of authority, aren't you? Chapter 23, Applying Pressure, Hayashi Hyuga's furious outburst. Senjumiho. Hyuga Hayashi's expression instantly turned serious. As the head of the Hyuga clan, and being in the upper echelons of Konoha's power pyramid, he knew Senjumiho. This seemingly unknown individual could, with a wave of her hand, command most of the Senju clan members hidden among the Konoha villagers. Her influence was comparable, if not superior, to his as the Hyuga clan head. After all, he was still constrained by the elders of the main family within his clan. And Senjumiho was the supreme leader of the Senju. Grandma Miho, why are you here? Hyuga Hayashi asked respectfully. Senjumiho glanced at him, then looked at Rinso, who was covered in blood and swaying slightly, her eyes filled with tenderness. Little Rinso, tell this old woman what happened. This old woman will back you up. As soon as Senjumiho said this, Hyuga Hayashi's pupils constricted. Shikamaru's father, Narashikaku, Ino's father, and Noichi Yamanaka, and Choji's father, Akimichi Choza. The old generation of the Ino, Shika, Cho trio exchanged glances, seeing surprise in each other's eyes. Their positions in Konoha were also not low. They were among the small group of people who knew of Senju Miho's existence. Compared to Kakashi, Might Guy, and Shursui, who stood by, understanding nothing, they were very aware of Senju Miho's weight. It could be said that once Senju Miho spoke, even if Hiruzen Sarutobi stood opposite her, this matter would not be easily resolved. Grandma Miho, Rinso was in a state of bewilderment. This old woman, whom he often visited, seemed to have some extraordinary identity, even capable of confronting Hyuga Hayashi head-on. Rinso fell silent. He didn't know whether to be happy or sad now. After all, his goal from beginning to end was not to demand an explanation from Hyuga Hayashi. He knew very well that the assassination by that branch family ninja was most likely his own idea, combined with Danzo's instigation. Therefore, he hadn't blamed Hyuga Hayashi. This time, coming to the Hyuga estate, he was actually trying to blow this matter up, making it so big that Danzo or others targeting him wouldn't dare to move against him for a long time in the future. This was also why he chose to drag the corpse through Konoha's most prosperous street. However, the current development of events seemed to have exceeded expectations. Senju Miho, thinking Rinso was afraid to speak, said earnestly, "This old woman still has some influence. Speak boldly, and this old woman will back you up." Rinso nodded, pulling at his wound, his face twitching. He didn't cry out in pain. He merely frowned slightly before looking at the cold corpse. "Tonight, when I was returning from Shursusen's training ground, on the outskirts of the village, where no one was around, he suddenly appeared and tried to take me away. I feigned weakness, and taking advantage of his lowered guard, I struck, injuring him. Injured, he pulled out an exploding tag from his ninja tool pouch. To prevent him from creating distance, I hugged him tightly, and the exploding tag exploded." Rinso feigned weakness and shortness of breath, stopping his narrative there. He knew that the more he said, the more mistakes he'd make. His ability to defeat a Chunin was definitely a shocking feat. He could only try to be as vague as possible about the process to get away with it, and then take time later to come up with a better explanation. An exploding tag? No wonder the body is so incomplete. Kakashi nodded knowingly, then frowned, looking at Rinso's injuries. Both arms were charred black, flesh blown away, and crimson blood continuously flowed out. On his chest, a 3-centimeter deep wound, flesh wriggling, even bone visible. Rinso's wounds were horrifying, making it hard to imagine how strong his willpower must be to still be standing there. They didn't know that these wounds were already the result of Rinso's self-healing for some time. The initial wounds on his arms had exposed bone. The chest wound even had internal organs visible. "I'm sorry, it's my fault." Shursui's expression was filled with remorse. "I took you to such a remote place, but didn't escort you to a safe one." Senju Miho automatically assumed the role of Rinso's grandmother, her expression towards Shursui turning sour, but seeing Shursui's genuine remorse, her expression softened slightly. "Shursui-san, it's not your fault." Rinso was not a fool who couldn't distinguish right from wrong. Shursui's problem was, at most, a bit of carelessness. How could he blame him? "Rinso." Shursui's eyes showed emotion, and then his gaze immediately turned icy cold. Such a kind Rinso, yet he suffered such a cruel fate. "Hyuga clan head, shouldn't there be an explanation?" Shursui demanded coldly. Hyuga Hayashi's expression became even more solemn. Uchiha Shursui, he was one of Konoha's few Kage-level experts, carrying immense weight. Although his Uchiha identity made him cautious in his actions, he was not someone who could be easily dismissed. Now, coupled with Senju Miho, a person of immense influence, and Kakashi and Might Guy, these mainstays of the village. Even the Ino, Shika, Cho trio of Nara Shikaku, Inoichi Yamanaka, and Akimichi Choza, 3 individuals of equally significant standing, also subtly sided with Rinso. In an instant, the immense pressure caused a trickle of cold sweat to run down Hyuga Hayashi's forehead. With so many people applying pressure, even as the Hyuga clan head, he would definitely not fare well. Damn it! Looking at the corpse, Hyuga Hayashi felt like cursing. How could he not recognize that the corpse was that branch family ninja who had disrespected Hinata and whom he had punished? Especially since this branch family ninja and Rinso had a conflict. With this reason, he couldn't shift the blame even if he wanted to. That is to say, regardless of whether that branch family ninja acted for personal reasons or under his command. Now, it could only be attributed to the latter. He was stuck with this bitter pill. Hyuga Hayashi gritted his teeth, intending to suppress the impact of the incident no matter what. "I will give an explanation for this matter. The Hyuga clan will give an explanation, and the truth of this incident will be investigated." As Hyuga Hayashi's voice fell, Rinso's ears twitched. He understood that now was the time to add fuel to the fire. No need to investigate, because the truth is right before our eyes, Rinso said weakly, and under the gaze of Kakashi and the others, he walked towards the head of the corpse. He reached out, and at the mouth area of the branch family ninja, whose jaw was missing, he flipped over the tongue, which was still attached by flesh. Immediately, the underside of the tongue was revealed. 3 horizontal lines on top, 2 broken lines below, appeared before everyone's eyes. Hyuga Hayashi, Senjumiho, Shursui, Kakashi, Might Guy, Naruto, and so on. These powerful and influential individuals were all plunged into an eerie silence. And Rinso, as if unaware, continued to speak. If it wasn't for assassination, why would a cursed seal be placed? It must have been to prevent information leakage, right? Rinso continued to feign ignorance, splashing mud on Hyuga Hayashi. However, the prolonged blood loss finally made him unable to hold on. Before he could continue to set the pace and provoke Hyuga Hayashi, his vision went black, and he fell down with a thud. Hinata, who was nearby, was the quickest. Disregarding everything else, she directly positioned herself behind Rinso, acting as a human cushion. Hinata was pressed beneath Rinso, her face both red and pale, red from shyness, white from worry. Does anyone know medical ninjutsu? Shursui shouted anxiously. I know a little, but it won't be very effective. Someone in the crowd responded. That's fine too. Hurry and come help. Hyuga Hayashi stood on the steps, looking down at Shursui and the others, who were bustling around because Rinso had collapsed, an uncontrollable rage burning in his heart. Danzo, Shimura. Chapter 24, Please, Hokage-sama. Dismiss Shimura Danzo. It's simply incredible. I've never seen such a recovery speed. So, Rinso-kun is out of danger now. Yes, so you don't need to stay and watch. He's out of the woods for now. Rinso groggily opened his eyes, hearing voices conversing nearby. Through his half-opened eyelids, Rinso saw 2 people, hospital doctors in uniform. The other was Uchiha Shursui, looking a bit haggard. Shursui-san. Rinso spoke, his hoarse voice making him slightly startle himself. Rinso-kun, you're awake? Shursui walked over, holding Rinso's hand, his expression worried. Rinso wanted to nod, but found he couldn't. At some point, his neck had been fitted with a brace. Don't move. Shursui stopped him, then picked up the prepared warm water and brought it to Rinso's lips. Here, drink some water. Rinso obediently opened his mouth. The warm water soothed his throat, making him feel much better. He then spoke. Shursui-san, after I fainted. Seeing Rinso about to ask, Shursui directly shook his head, interrupting him. You're not fully recovered yet. I know what you want to ask, so I'll just tell you. Last night, after you collapsed, everyone gave you basic wound treatment, and then the hospital ninja arrived and took you to the hospital. Now you're out of any serious danger. Shursui's expression showed a hint of surprise. Such a large wound recovered in less than a day. Rinso-kun, you must have awakened some special bloodline. It's a pleasant surprise, I suppose. Rinso feigned a bit of surprise. Special bloodline? Yes, just like the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan and our Uchiha Sharingan. They are essentially the awakened power of our special bloodlines. Your super strong vitality should also be a similar power, Shursui said. Rinso pretended to nod in understanding, not delving deeper into the topic. He changed the subject, asking, Shursui-san, regarding my assassination, has Hinata's father given any results? A trace of hesitation appeared on Shursui's face, as if he was considering whether to reveal something. After 2 seconds of hesitation, Shursui felt that Rinso, as the victim, should at least know who the perpetrator was, so his gaze became firm. Rinso-kun, your assassination wasn't actually by the Hyuga. The curse mark in that branch family ninja's mouth is called the tongue-sealing curse, and it is an exclusive curse mark of the Root Organization, another department of Umbu. The leader of the Root Organization is the true mastermind who wanted to assassinate you. His name is Danzo Shimura, the head of the Shimura clan, and also the current Hokage's assistant. Shursui spoke, revealing everything about the Root Organization and Danzo, while still keeping some confidential information private. A hint of surprise flashed in Rinso's eyes as he listened, not expecting Shursui to reveal the Root Organization and Danzo so easily. He feigned an expression of hearing it for the first time, stunned. The Root Organization, why would he want to assassinate me? Shursui parted his lips, knowing the reason perfectly well, but simply didn't voice it. He felt it would be too cruel to let Rinso, a 4-year-old child, know about such dark matters. However, Rinso was clearly not an ordinary child, nor did he want to pretend to be one. Facing Shursui's hesitation, he answered his own question to himself. Because I defeated Hyuga Niji and displayed my talent, So he wants to capture me and train me into a weapon exclusive to him, right? Shursui lowered his head, understanding that although Rinso was asking, his tone was very certain. I didn't expect you to see things so clearly at such a young age, Shursui praised, the figure of Uchiha Itachi surfacing in his mind. He felt that Uchiha Itachi and Rinso might get along. Rinso smiled, not responding. He had, after all, gone through 9 years of compulsory education and experienced an era of information explosion. So many of his abilities were highly trained. Moreover, he actually already knew the truth of the matter. All right, I have things to attend to and can't stay here with you. You won't be lacking company after I leave, though. Your popularity, it's truly enviable. With that, Shursui stood up, waved his hand, and walked out of the ward. Initially, Rinso didn't quite grasp Shursui's meaning, until a few minutes later. Not long after Shursui left, his companions, led by Tenten and Ino, rushed into the ward. Rinso-kun, are you better? Rinso, can I see your wound? I'm so worried. Rinso-kun, I'm sorry. Big brother Rinso, boo-hoo-hoo, don't die. You have to get better quickly. Do you want to eat my snacks? They're delicious and nutritious. Maybe they'll help you recover faster. Besides Tenten and the others, there was also someone Rinso hadn't expected. That was Sasuke, who was rarely not with his brother Uchiha Itachi. Hey, you can't get into trouble. Otherwise, our future battles would always count as you winning, Sasuke said with awkward concern. Rinso tilted his head slightly. Sigh, why did he suddenly have a headache? Konoha, Hokage's office. The Hokage's office was unusually lively today. Early in the morning, Hiruzen Sarutobi hadn't even eaten breakfast before groggily arriving at the office building. Before he even entered his office, he saw the crowd who had been waiting inside for who knows how long. Hyuga Hayashi, Kakashi, Might Guy, the Ino, Shika, Cho Trio, and Senju who made Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyelids twitch. Apologies, I'm late. Shursui arrived belatedly. This time, he didn't wear his fox mask into the Hokage's office. The meaning was clear. This time, he was not here as an Umbu member, but as Uchiha Shursui, a Kaga-level expert. Seeing so many people of considerable strength and status collectively appearing in his office, and all with grim expressions, Hiruzen Sarutobi's heart instantly leaped to his throat. Don't tell him the Fourth Ninja World War had broken out. His old heart couldn't take it. Hiruzen Sarutobi walked with heavy steps to his seat, slowly sat down, and spoke sternly. Tell me, what happened? Has the Fourth Ninja World War broken out? Hyuga Hayashi and the others exchanged glances, all shaking their heads. No, it hasn't, Hyuga Hayashi said. Hiruzen Sarutobi visibly let out a sigh of relief, then relaxed, even having the leisure to light his pipe and start smoking. Then what happened? Hokage-sama, please dismiss Danzo Shimura from his position as Hokage's assistant. Led by Hyuga Hayashi, everyone except Senju said in unison. Senju followed closely, her benevolent face revealing a coldness Rinso had never seen. That Danzo fellow is too lawless. Fortunately, that brat Tobirama didn't pass the Hokage title to him. Bang! The pipe struck the table, leaving a small dent, but Hiruzen Sarutobi had no mind to care. He was currently processing the demand from Hyuga Hayashi and the others to dismiss Danzo Shimura. After a long while, he finally came back to his senses and asked, why? Chapter 25, Acquire the Hand Sage Technique and Convene a Jonin Meeting. Konoha Hospital. In the ward, Tenten and the others were called away by the doctor, who told them not to disturb Rinso's rest. Afterward, Rinso's attending physician, medical ninja Ono Shizuko, was about to begin ninjutsu treatment on Rinso. According to your recovery speed, with 3 ninjutsu treatments today, morning, noon, and night, you can be discharged directly. Now I will perform your morning ninjutsu treatment. 100 days for a broken bone. In the world of Hokage, with the enhancement of medical ninjutsu, it obviously wouldn't take that long. Rinso's seemingly severe injuries, aided by his terrifying vitality and medical ninjutsu. From last night to this morning, in less than a day, he was mostly recovered. No one knew better than him the powerful recovery ability brought by the fusion of the Senju and Uzumaki bloodlines. Rinso had no doubt that when his body developed further and his bloodline was more deeply awakened in the future, he might even reach or surpass Senju Hashirama's recovery ability. So, facing Ono Shizuko, who was about to use medical ninjutsu to heal his body, Rinso opened his mouth, about to say that he was fine and didn't need treatment. Beside the bed, a ball of light suddenly dropped from Ono Shizuko, who was performing medical ninjutsu. Ono Shizuko dropped. Mystical palm technique, pick up. The words he was about to say caught in his throat, and Rinso swallowed them back, then spoke weakly. I feel a bit unwell. Can I stay in the hospital for a few more days? Medical ninja Ono Shizuko frowned and said, How can that be? Hospital beds are very tight. I just examined your body when I used ninjutsu on you, and I found that you're almost completely recovered. I think the ninjutsu treatments for noon and evening can be canceled. I'll go process your discharge in a bit. Rinso's face flushed with embarrassment. He felt that having too strong a recovery ability wasn't always a good thing. With just one treatment, he obtained the A-rank medical ninjutsu mystical palm technique. He had originally wanted to stay longer to see if he could pick up some more good items, but now it seemed hopeless. Hokage's office. The atmosphere was somewhat oppressive. Hiruzen Tsurutobi rested his hands on his forehead, his eyes filled with an unresolvable gloom. He never imagined that Danzo would be so brazen. He had just been reprimanded yesterday morning, and without even waiting for the next day, Danzo sent people to abduct Rinso that very night. If Rinso hadn't been unexpectedly powerful, not only failing to be abducted, but also successfully counter-killing, then Danzo Shimura might have truly turned Rinso into a puppet of Root without Hiruzen Sarutobi's knowledge. And Hiruzen Sarutobi didn't even dare to imagine how many times Danzo Shimura had done such a thing. Danzo Shimura's actions were tantamount to slapping his face and challenging his authority as Hokage. One Konoha, two people giving orders. Wasn't that a betrayal of the first Hokage? It seems I've been too tolerant of Danzo, Hiruzen Sarutobi said, suppressing his anger. He closed his eyes, recalling every little detail of his time with Danzo Shimura. Opening his eyes, he looked up at the angry gazes of Hyuga Hayashi and Senju Miho, and Hiruzen Sarutobi made up his mind. Convene a Jonin meeting. The discharge procedures have been completed. You can leave now, Ono Shizuko said to Rinso. Okay. Rinso nodded, then began to take off his patient gown. His original clothes were tattered from a fight, but he still had the shirt Senju Miho knitted for him, so he didn't need to buy new ones. The only real trouble was how to explain it to his parents when he got home. Sigh. It's better not to tell them what really happened. Otherwise, worrying for nothing isn't good for their health. I'll just say I stayed at a friend's house for a night. Rinso muttered softly, making his decision. Thinking this, Rinso had already changed his clothes and walked out of the ward. Outside the ward, to Rinso's surprise, none of Tintin or the others had left. They were all sitting on the chairs outside, waiting boredly. At this moment, the sound of the ward door opening made them all look over. Seeing that it was Rinso who came out, their eyes all widened. Naruto immediately yelled, Big brother Rinso, why are you out of bed? Hurry back and lie down. Rinso smiled helplessly. It's not a serious injury. I'm fine now, and I've already been discharged. Everyone, what did he mean by not a serious injury? They clearly saw Rinso's wounds last night, even showing bone. And now he was telling them that in less than a day, he was already fine? Everyone fell into deep thought. Was Konoha's medical ninjutsu too powerful? Or was Rinso simply not a normal person? Recalling Rinso's extraordinary physical fitness and taijutsu strength in daily life, everyone collectively chose the latter. Rinso was simply not a normal person. Seeing their strange looks, Rinso immediately changed the subject. Have you been waiting here since you were kicked out this morning? Yes, because we were very worried about you, Tintin said directly, looking Rinso straight in the eyes, openly showing her concern. You were so badly injured, I had no mood to play, and without you, it's not fun at all. Ino said, her cheeks slightly red, her voice growing softer. Me too, Hinata said, her cheeks flushed, stealing a glance at Rinso, then immediately lowering her head and nervously fiddling with the hem of her clothes. Shikamaru looked at the three girls with an expression that saw through everything. Ahem, thank you all for your concern. Rinso didn't dwell on the emotions the three girls showed and went straight to the point. I need to go home first, so everyone meet at the park this afternoon and we'll play together then. Okay. Everyone agreed without objection, nodding in unison. For children, they don't hold on to too many things in their hearts. Now that they saw Rinso was fine and heard they could play together in the afternoon, smiles appeared on their faces. Sasuke turned his head, about to leave without a word. How could Rinso everyone include him? He wouldn't stand around being an eyesore. Rinso keenly noticed Sasuke and spoke up. Sasuke, don't be late this afternoon. Sasuke paused, a curve forming on the corner of his mouth that he didn't even notice himself. And he said haughtily, stop talking nonsense. I'm not the kind of person who would be late. Saying that, he left without looking back. Rinso shrugged helplessly, completely at a loss with Sasuke's tsundere attitude. Leaving Konoha Hospital. On the way home, Rinso secretly experimented with a mystical palm technique he had acquired less than half a day ago. Chakra flowed within his body, gathering in his palm to form green, vital chakra. This A-rank medical ninjutsu, which was not easy to master, was so easily used by Rinso, saving him months of hard work that others would need. It really is cheating. Rinso clicked his tongue, then suddenly laughed. Fortunately, I'm the one cheating. Just as Rinso was walking home alone, suddenly, a shadow fell over him. Rinso immediately experienced PTSD, instantly pulling back in alert, and looked up. Upon seeing it, Rinso experienced even more PTSD. Damn, it's a fox mask again. Come with me to the Hokage's office, the Yanbyu ninja said. Chapter 26 Jonin Meeting. Shimura Danzo's furious. The Jonin Council. Konoha Village's highest council. Only Jonin and clan heads of Konoha Village and other highly influential individuals could participate. Kakashi and Might Guy were considered among the lowest-ranking people present. It could be said that the decisions made by the Jonin Council could even influence the world's power balance. Such an important meeting was usually convened only for major matters, such as discussing the appointment of a new Hokage. Now, with the Jonin Council convened, the attending Jonin and clan heads were all puzzled. What exactly happened that necessitated convening the Jonin Council? Could it be that Hiruzen Sarutobi was losing his touch and was about to abdicate the Hokage position? Many people speculated. Suddenly, an ANBU ninja appeared, flashing next to Hiruzen Sarutobi, and whispered a few words. Hiruzen Sarutobi nodded. Bring him in. Yes. The ANBU ninja with a fox mask nodded in response and immediately vanished. Then, 2 seconds later, he reappeared, bringing with him a small figure. The small figure was Rinso, looking utterly bewildered. He had been inexplicably stopped by an ANBU ninja. He hadn't even grasped the full context before being brought directly here. Fortunately, his mind wasn't slow. His gaze swept across the Hokage's office. Rinso immediately sensed the unusualness of the situation. Uchiha, Hyuga, Inazuka, Aburame, Nara, Akimichi, Yamanaka, those he knew and those he didn't. It could be said that almost all the major clans of Konoha were present. Besides these major clans, Rinso also spotted Kakashi and Might Guy among the Jonin, as well as Senju Miho. And there were the Konoha elders, Yuditane Koharu, Hamura Mitokado, and Danzo Shimura, sitting in the same direction as Hiruzen Sarutobi. What kind of important meeting is this? And they called me to such an important meeting? Is it because of what happened last night? Rinso immediately realized this. He deliberately showed an appropriate level of confusion and a hint of fear, looking towards the person who could provide him the most security in the room. Grandma Miho, Rinso said. As soon as Rinso spoke, many people looked towards the unassuming Senju Miho in the office. Some Jonin were still confused as to why an old woman was allowed to attend the meeting. Meanwhile, the clan heads all showed a look of surprise, an expression that seemed to say, even you have been alerted. They were even more surprised that a child they didn't recognize knew Senju Miho and seemed to have a very close relationship with her. Senju Miho nodded, smiling kindly. Don't be afraid, little Rinso. We called you here to understand what happened yesterday. After speaking, Senju Miho looked at Rinso, who was perfectly fine, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. She clearly remembered how severely injured Rinso had been before being sent to Konoha Hospital. She, Kakashi, Might Guy, and Shirsu-san had stayed up all night guarding him, only leaving in the morning to pressure Hiruzen Sarutobi. Therefore, she knew Rinso's recovery speed was extraordinary. Not long ago, she also learned that Rinso had already been discharged. Otherwise, Hiruzen Sarutobi wouldn't have sent an ANBU ninja to find Rinso. However, now seeing him face to face, Senju Miho realized that she might have still underestimated Rinso's recovery ability. For most people, a fatal injury. How could it have healed completely in less than a day for Rinso? This terrifying recovery ability, Senju Miho had only ever witnessed it in one person. That person was Senju Hashirama. Rinso. A conjecture emerged in Senju Miho's mind, and she planned to verify it immediately after the meeting. As Senju Miho pondered, Kakashi and Might Guy exchanged glances, both seeing surprise in each other's eyes. Rinso's self-healing ability was truly beyond their imagination. Hokage-sama. What exactly is the purpose of convening the Jonin Council? Inazuka Tsum, the head of the Inazuka clan and Inazuka Kiba's mother, asked. Has something very significant happened that required convening the Jonin Council? Aburame Shibi, wearing sunglasses, also inquired. As he spoke, he looked at Nara Shikaku and the other two, hoping his intelligent friend could provide an answer. Nara Shikaku muttered with a serious expression. Convening the Jonin Council for last night's incident? It seems little Rinso is highly regarded. Last night? What happened last night? Aburame Shibi asked, puzzled. Nara Shikaku didn't answer, merely gestured with his eyes for Aburame Shibi to look at Hiruzen Sarutobi. And Hiruzen Sarutobi, in the very next second, stated the reason for convening this Jonin council. Last night, the child before you, a mere 4-year-old, was subjected to an assassination attempt by an AMBU ninja. No, or rather, a root ninja's assassination. Hiruzen Sarutobi stood up, the anger in his voice completely undisguised. On the seat beside Hiruzen Sarutobi, Danzo Shimura's face suddenly turned incredibly grim, and he immediately shouted, "Hiruzen, don't slander me." Slander? Hiruzen Sarutobi was almost angered into laughter and immediately ordered an ANBU ninja. Bring the body up? Yes. The ANBU ninja acknowledged and immediately complied. In a few seconds, he had already brought a body into the Hokage's office. The corpse's pure white eyes appeared before everyone. Immediately, many people looked towards Hyuga Hayashi, whose face was extremely displeased at the moment. A root ninja, yet possessing a Byakugan? Did Root steal the Hyuga clan's Byakugan, or did they directly brainwash a Hyuga ninja into becoming a root ninja? They didn't know what exactly happened, but they knew that with the Hyuga clan's temperament, this matter was far from over. But even if it involves the Hyuga clan, it shouldn't warrant convening the Jonin Council, someone questioned. No one answered his question. Looking at the brought-up corpse, Hiruzen Sarutobi slightly controlled his emotions and spoke to Rinso in a gentle tone. "Little Rinso, can you tell us what happened last night?" Rinso nodded quickly, feigning a somewhat agitated expression. "Yes, Hokage-sama." Seeing this, Hiruzen Sarutobi felt relieved. It seemed he was still very much loved and respected. However, the thought of such a promising and devoted Rinso almost becoming Danzo's pawn filled Hiruzen Sarutobi with anger. This time, he would absolutely not back down. "Oomph." Rinso exhaled, a natural look of fear appearing on his face, like a child who, though scared, still forced himself to recall a painful memory. "Last night, I left Shirsusen's training ground and was walking home. In the Hokage's office, only Rinso's voice could be heard. Everyone listened quietly as Rinso recounted his story, as if they were experiencing it firsthand. Anger, too, was slowly ignited. A Chunin, attempting to kill a mere 4-year-old child? Was he even human? Everyone's gaze fell upon Danzo Shimura, as if they wanted to kill him. Danzo Shimura's face was ashen, and he cursed in his heart. "Idiot! This idiot!